space-time transaction. Exchanging food for the elf princess at the start. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301. Lin Yiren saw the change in Su Yi's expression. Seeing that he hesitated for a long time, he seemed to have guessed something, and immediately laughed. "Young man, you are not honest, ahem." Su Yi came back to his senses, and coughed twice to hide his embarrassment, and quickly changed the subject. "Although this trading platform is convenient, there are too many rules. I still don't understand them. I'm sorry to make you laugh, Lin Zongsu. By the way, I don't know what the cultivation system of Qingshan realm, where Lin Zongsu is like. If Lin Zongsu is free, can you explain it to me? The cultivation systems of different worlds are not exactly the same, so I can have a reference." After all, he matched the new trading object this time, to deal with the gods in the magic world. If he couldn't even tell how the power systems of the two worlds corresponded, it would be difficult to deal with this matter. Although he had no idea how powerful the gods in the magic world were, Xinghan knew point. As long as she understands the power system of Qingshan realm, and then asks Xinghan to study these techniques after returning, she should be able to quickly figure out what realm in Qingshan realm can match the gods in the magic world. What realm corresponds to what strength? It is all in the techniques. If you want to know, you might as well go and read it yourself. Put the jade slip on your forehead and you can see all the contents inside. Lin Yiren took out a copy of the Tao Te Ching that she had just obtained and said, "It just so happens that I can take this opportunity to see what wonderful methods and great ways there are in the world where you are. The name of the technique alone is extraordinary." As she said, she started to read it by herself. And Su Yi also followed suit and picked up the jade slip that recorded the technique of the Golden Crow book. Compared to Su Yi's traditional paper carrier, the jade slip is much more powerful. Su Yi just put the jade slip on his forehead, and a huge amount of information directly flooded his mind, making him a little absent-minded for a moment. But he soon came back to his senses, and noticed that there was a lot of knowledge in his mind. This knowledge is extremely complex, but after being transformed by the jade slip, he can quickly understand its meaning in a very short time. Damn, this thing is awesome. Without rushing to sort out the things that suddenly appeared in his mind, Su Yi looked at the jade slip and exclaimed that it was awesome. If he just poured the relevant knowledge into other people's brains, he would not think it was amazing, but this way of instilling it into people and making them fully understand it was amazing. It can even be said to be awesome. If the knowledge carrier of Blue Star is replaced with this, Blue Star technology will be able to advance rapidly. And this thing is not only usable in Blue Star. If it can be mass produced, he can even sell these jade slips as specialties. For example, the white deer of the interstellar civilization next door. Su Yi thinks this thing will definitely have a very large market there. Compared with the current technology tree of Blue Star, a genius can learn almost everything from childhood to adulthood in about 20 to 30 years, and even if he is not proficient, he can at least understand it basically. With such a large scale of interstellar civilization and a lot of black technology, the technology tree has probably grown to an extremely exaggerated degree. It is very likely that in some fields, many people will find it difficult to reach the extreme in their entire lives. If there is such a thing, it can greatly reduce the cost of learning. This is a product that can definitely sell well in Bailu's place. Before, Su Yi still thought that Bailu had helped him a lot. He had nothing here except the things in the magic world that could be of great help to Bailu. Those things in the magic world are placed in Bailu's world. In fact, to put it bluntly, they will only have some impact on individuals. From the perspective of their entire civilization, it is actually nothing. If you really want to compare, the most powerful gods in the magic world may not be able to withstand a shot from a star destroyer. Those magic martial arts are unlikely to have any subversive impact on the interstellar world. But these jade slips are different. If they can really be mass produced and the output is sufficient, it is no exaggeration to say that Bailu will be enough to become a giant in the interstellar world with just this thing. I'll Have to ask this demon girl if she has a method for making a jade slip. So, Yi took a deep breath and pulled his thoughts back. He found the description of the power system of Qingshan realm from the pile of knowledge that flooded into his mind. Body training, key training, foundation building, golden elixir, yuanying, spirit transformation, returning to the void, merging with the Tao, overcoming tribulations, Mahayana, and ascending to the immortal world. Body training period. Wait, just entering the body training period, you have the strength of 9 oxen and 2 tigers, which is equivalent to being able to lift a 10-ton weight. So, Yi almost couldn't hold it in. After reading the realm level and looking at the realm speed from the beginning point, fuck, people who just started to train have more than 10 tons of strength, and this is just the average data. Some special individuals are even more exaggerated, even reaching the level of 20 tons or dozens of tons are. This, if Suyi remembers correctly, both Yuling and Crossing Hen told him that his current strength is equivalent to that of a very strong second level warrior in the magic world, and even some weaker third level warriors may not be as strong as him who takes drugs and drinks girls juice every day. And his actual strength, I tested it a few days ago, about 2 or 3 tons. Even the limit of a third level warrior is only 10 tons to reach 20 tons, or even dozens of tons. This can only be done by a 4th level or even 5th level warrior in the magic world. That is to say, the strength of the newly entered cultivators in the Qingshan realm is almost the same as that of the middle level cultivators. In the magic world, the gap in the power system is a bit too big. Suyi continued to checkpoint in the key training stage. After forging the body, one begins to try to draw key into the body. If the key is successfully drawn into the body, it is considered to have entered the key training stage. The cultivators in the body forging stage can only practice inferior martial arts, some of which are similar to magic, and can induce some thunder and flames to enchant themselves, or weapons to enhance their lethality. The cultivators in the key training stage are even more powerful. They can absorb and refine the spiritual energy in the air into a kind of key and store it in their danshan. This key is also called spiritual power. The danshan is like a battery. Before this battery dries up, the cultivators in the key training stage not only have endless strength, but also can release various magical skills, both close combat and long range point. And judging from this description, the combat power is probably much stronger than the magic and martial arts dual cultivation in the magic world. But for some reason, this key training period gave Suyi a very strange feeling. There are 3 stages in the body training period: the beginning, the middle and the end. The beginning is stronger than the third level warriors in the magic world. But if the 3 stages of the Qingshan realm body training period are compared with the warriors in the 1st to 3rd, 4th to 6th, and 7th to 9th stages of the magic world martial arts, the strength of the key training period is far behind those demigods in the magic world. At least from the description. If you are just entering the key training period, even the most powerful genius, the invincible one at the same level, should not have as strong power as Xinghan. Chapter 302. Suyi looked at it for a long time, and always felt that the bodybuilding period and the key training period marked as the early stage of laying the foundation in the power system of this world of cultivation seemed to correspond to the martial arts and magic of the magic world. Of course, this does not mean that they are the same, but just a different way of developing on the same basis. This foundation is naturally the spiritual energy. That is, the magic power of the magic world. These 2 things are just called differently in their respective worlds, but in fact, they are the same thing, no matter how you look at it, including the spiritual energy mentioned by Bailu, which is actually the substance. And different ways of using the same power naturally have advantages and disadvantages according to the view of the world of cultivation. Spiritual energy is not friendly to the human body, and is difficult to directly absorb and utilize. It is not uncommon for mortals to forcibly absorb spiritual energy without the foundation of bodybuilding, but in the history of cultivation in the entire Qingshan world, except for a few extremely rebellious monsters, those who do so will be stuck in the foundation building period without exception, and cannot condense into a golden elixir. The specific reason is not mentioned in this jade slip. Only that it will lead to a lack of cultivation, and is destined to fail to form a golden elixir. If you force the pill to form, you will be punished by heaven. This is the so-called 5 decades of heaven and man. If you can survive it, you can perfect the landmines buried in the previous cultivation, and improve your own cultivation point, and there are only a few geniuses who can survive it. Almost every one of these people later became a giant in the King Shan world, and called the sect the ancestor. The cultivator must use spiritual power to polish the body first. After the body is polished to a certain degree, it can draw ki into the body. This is the correct process considered by the immortal world. According to the cultivation process of the magic world, there are not so many details. You practice your martial arts, and I learn my magic point. Everyone is stuck at the 9th level point. Then some geniuses tried to practice magic and martial arts together, and later found that this path is indeed feasible, and they can even surpass the 9th level to become demigods. The breakthrough after that is the most difficult. Those so-called gods, in Xinghan's words, are all pseudo-gods. They say that they have broken through the realm of demigods, but in fact they have only broken through half, and are still far from the real breakthrough point. The fighting power of these gods is probably only enough to reach the floor tiles of the giant and stage in the immortal cultivation world. If they meet a stronger foundation building cultivator in the immortal cultivation world, they may be beaten. Obviously, the upper limit is very low. In the King Shan world, it is just a small Karami who has just left the novice stage of the immortal cultivation point. On the contrary, the cultivation method chosen by Xinghan is somewhat similar to the knowledge recorded in the Jade Slips, which describe some casual cultivators who have no sects and have not laid a solid foundation in the early stage of cultivation, and continue to force a breakthrough when they reach the foundation building stage point. The side effects are the same point as a hybrid of humans and elves. Xinghan is more or less a half immortal species. He could live for hundreds of years without cultivation point, but after choosing this path, he is now only more than 100 years old and only has 3 years left to live. It is very similar to the 5 decays of the gods and people recorded in it. If the cultivation method of the King Shan world is the correct way to use spiritual power on the metaphysical side, then it is obvious that the gods and demigods in the magic world have been cultivating wrong from the beginning. This is why they can never break through to the true divine realm. Xinghan and her predecessors who followed her path realized that there was something wrong with this way of cultivation, but they did not realize that the problem was in the most basic part. Even if they were to recultivate, no one had ever tried to practice martial arts to the extreme first, and then go back to practice magic. Of course, in the absence of a corresponding cultivation method, even if they really followed this process, the martial arts and magic of the magic world were different from the 2 stages of body forging and key training in the King Shan realm, and there might not be any effect. In the final analysis, this is because the cultivation system of the magic world is too young. That's right, it's young. Although the cultivation civilization of the magic world may have existed for millions of years, but compared with the King Shan realm, it is still a small witch compared to a big witch. The King Shan realm civilization recorded in the Jade Slip is calculated in eras, and an era is 129,600 years. Of course, the Jade Slip does not mark which era and year of the King Shan realm it is now, but when it comes to changes in cultivation methods, the time is occasionally mentioned. The longest era recorded in Su Yi's mind is already more than 3,000 years. One era is 129,600 years, and more than 3,000 eras is almost 400 million years, and this is the most conservative estimate, because this Jade Slip records the practice method, not an encyclopedia or an old almanac, so it is naturally impossible to mark the time of the King Shan realm now. It is possible that it is now more than 3,000 eras in the King Shan realm, or more than 4,000, or even tens of thousands of eras in comparison. Wu's Qiang Empire, as one of the oldest countries in the magic world, has existed for only 100,000 years, which may not even be the time of an era. The timeline before is said to be nearly a million years, but according to what Yuling said before, there are ancient books that can be verified, that is, things from 300,000 to 400,000 years ago. Earlier is a legend, and there is no explicit record at all. Unless you ask the oldest gods, no one knows whether there was civilization at that time. Compared with the King Shan realm, the magic world is still a pure newcomer. a metaphysical civilization that is on the rise. It is reasonable that the cultivation system is not as perfect as others. This information is very useful. Maybe Xinghan can still be saved. Su Yi was naturally very surprised to find these things by chance after matching to a world of immortal cultivation point. Although he did not say anything when Xinghan said that he only had 3 years left to live, it was because he did not want to take on any responsibility for a problem that he could not solve, and Xinghan's existence probably did not need a few empty words of comfort from him, so he naturally did not comment. But it does not mean that he has forgotten this matter. After all, they have known each other for a while. If he can help Xinghan, he does not mind spending some effort. And now this sudden more perfect cultivation method from the world of immortal cultivation is very likely to be the key to helping Xinghan. If it is really useful, it can be regarded as a relief. Of course, judging from the cases of surviving the 5 decades of heaven and man recorded in the Jade Slip, it must be very difficult for Xinghan to survive. But compared with the previous practice of not knowing anything and relying on his intuition, with this more perfect cultivation method from the world of immortal cultivation, at least it can point out a correct path for Xinghan, which is already a great gain. As for whether Xinghan can survive the subsequent events, if she encounters an opportunity that allows her to survive, Su Yi will naturally find a way to get it for her. If she doesn't, she can say that she has tried her best. Do your best and leave the rest to fate. Chapter 303. When Su Yi was reading the Jade Slip, he focused on the issue of the cultivation system and understood some of the basic knowledge of cultivation recorded in the Jade Slip. His understanding of the practice itself was not very deep. He looked up and saw Lin Yaran staring at the Tao Te Ching in a daze. He didn't know what he was thinking. He didn't turn the page or speak for a long time, and he didn't mean to urge him at all. He simply continued to read the practice part. The so-called Golden Crow book, according to the records in it, was a practice method that a great man in the tribulation period in the Xiuxin world realized after killing the divine beast Golden Crow. The original upper limit of this practice was extremely high, but the great man in the tribulation period was not very interested in it and only deduced half of it and didn't continue. This is why, although this practice is not incomplete, the upper limit can only be cultivated to the return to void realm. But even so, it is considered a first-class practice in the Qingshan realm. Apart from a few great sects that have produced immortals and some sects that have been passed down for who knows how many years, this can be regarded as a magical method for any second or third-rate sect. In addition to the fact that its upper limit of practice can reach the return to void stage, what is more important is that the foundation of this method is very solid. If a person is really talented, after practicing this method to the extreme, and then has some opportunities, and encounters some things related to the Golden Crow, such as blood essence, feathers and other treasures, it is possible that he can suddenly realize the truth and deduce the part that the great master who has crossed the tribulation has not yet deduced. Then practice to a higher level. During this period, there is no problem of not laying a good foundation in the early stage, resulting in an imperfect upper limit. After all, when the great master who has crossed the tribulation created this method, he was aiming for the method of becoming an immortal. Later, although I don't know why he gave up, the foundation of the previous part cannot be false. If practicing to the return to void stage is the actual upper limit of this method, then practicing to become an immortal is the theoretical upper limit of this method. The description of the traded items in the trading space cannot be faked. Since Lin Yaran said that this is the best technique she has, it must be true. I'm afraid there is no chance to obtain a more powerful technique through her. In other words, unless it is matched with a more advanced world of cultivation, this is the best cultivation method that Su Yi can obtain at present. And the content of the Golden Crow book is actually quite interesting to Su Yi. It is said that when practicing this technique during the bodybuilding period, one can induce the sun's true fire to temper the body. This process is much more powerful than the ordinary bodybuilding method of slowly inducing spiritual energy to temper the body. The foundation laid is also much more solid than that of using spiritual energy, and the speed is faster. After reaching the key training period, one will master the sun's true fire supernatural power. Of course, this thing is a big energy consumer. It is estimated that cultivators who have just entered the key training period can only urge a candle-sized sun's true fire, and the duration is extremely short. Only when they reach the foundation building period or even the golden elixir period can they exert 1/10,000th of the power of this divine fire. Only when one reaches the return to void stage can the sun's true fire be considered fully developed, and burning mountains and boiling seas is not a problem. It can really burn mountains and boil seas, and it is not an exaggerated rhetoric. According to the Jade Slip, a single strand of the fully developed sun's true fire can evaporate a large lake with a radius of 100,000 miles. The trading platform has thoughtfully compared and converted the units of the two worlds. Suyi made a simple calculation, and the so-called large lake with a radius of 100,000 miles is equivalent to 6 to 7 times the size of the blue star's largest ocean, the Sea of Tranquility. In other words, if the strand of sun's true fire goes down, the entire surface of the blue star will not be enough to burn. This is the power of the return to void, great power, and it is also the awesomeness of the sun's true fire. Even the practice method has painted a big cake for the practitioners, saying that if they can deduce the practice method and practice to the Hedeo realm, they can really transform into the divine beast golden crow and possess the power of the divine beast. The divine beast is much more awesome than those big lizards and dragons in the magic world. As long as they can grow up, they will basically have the power of immortals and gods. The golden crow that the great man in the crossing tribulation period killed was in the realm of harmony with the Deo. To put it bluntly, it was just a young golden crow. But even so, he had to fight hard and even paid a huge price to kill it. The power of the beast can be seen. In short, no matter from what angle, this is the most suitable method for Suyi at the moment. He had never practiced seriously before. In fact, he felt that the upper limit of the practice method in the magic world was not high. Anyway, he had endless water of life to drink. Even if he didn't practice, he could easily live for 300 to 500 years. There was plenty of time, and he was not in a hurry. Naturally, he wanted to wait until one day, when he matched with a more advanced metaphysical side world, to try to practice and improve his own strength. Obviously, this opportunity has arrived. The Golden Crow book is the most suitable practice method for him at the moment. Even if he encounters a better one in the future, with the solid foundation laid by this practice, Suyi can calmly choose whether to switch to a better practice method, and he doesn't have to worry about his foundation not being stable enough. What accidents will happen if he rashly switches to other methods? After reading for nearly half an hour, Suyi finally understood the power system of the world of cultivation and read the introduction of the Golden Crow book. He finally made up his mind to practice this, and breathed a sigh of relief. However, this is a trading platform, and it is obviously not allowed to practice here. We have to talk about it after we go back, so there is no need to rush. After all, both Yuling and Xinghan have said that the magic power of Blue Star is actually very strong, much stronger than the magic world next door. It can be considered a holy land for cultivation. After making up her mind, Suyi looked up at Lin Yiren again. I found that this woman was still staring at the paper version of the Tao Te Ching in her hand, and was even reading the content on the first page. She was half lying there looking at the book in her hand, without blinking her eyes from beginning to end. If it weren't for her extremely good figure, the loose long skirt couldn't cover it up, causing the rise and fall of her chest to be very conspicuous when breathing. At this time, Lin Yiren looked very much like a beautiful sculpture, not like a living person at all. Suyi waited patiently for a while, and found that she was still staring at the book with no intention of stopping. After all, she couldn't help but said, what do you think, Sect Master Lin, of the 3 exercises I gave you? The silence in the hall was suddenly interrupted, and Lin Yiren, who was looking at the Tao Te Ching in his hand, finally had some reaction. She slowly raised her head, but it took a while for the confusion in her eyes to fade away. After coming back to his senses, Lin Yiren glanced at his surroundings, and then remembered what he was here for, pointing straight at the Great Road. It is mysterious and extraordinary, Lin still gave his own evaluation points. Suyi originally thought these were just a few words of some kind, but after seeing Lin Yiren's serious look on his face, he couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. Could it be that those obscure books are actually a very advanced way of cultivation, even more advanced than the Golden Crow book in his hand? After thinking for a while, he asked seriously, directly pointing to the Great Road, does it mean that it can allow people to practice to the Mahayana stage? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304. Mahayana Period. Lin Yiren smiled. The things recorded in these books cannot be understood by those in the Mahayana period. If you really want to understand all the mysterious Taoism in them, I'm afraid that only immortals can do it. These obscure and complicated words recorded above are essentially not meant for ordinary people and middle and low level monks to read. That is to say, I have the ability to return to the void in half a step, otherwise I would really not be able to understand it at all. Speaking of it, our moon covering sect's cultivation limit is only up to the void return stage because of too few techniques, and it is extremely difficult to even break through the void return stage. As a result, I have been stuck in the current state for a while, and these strange books you brought this time that points directly to the Great Road, although they do not record the specific methods of cultivation, or in other words, I didn't understand it, but it was a big help to me anyway. With the help of these books, I believe that it won't be long before I can break through and enter the true realm of virtual reality. No. Is this thing really so awesome? Suyi couldn't believe it. He originally planned to use the garbage from the magical world to show off his appearance, but he never expected that he actually had something awesome on hand that he could give out. He always felt like he was losing blood point, but now is obviously not the time for him to care about these gains and losses. Although there were a lot of things recorded in the Jade Slip, he had more questions to ask. Now that the benefits had been given, the benefits were not only beyond Lin Yiren's imagination, but even Suyi himself had no idea. Naturally, I wanted to take the opportunity to find out more. He immediately said, as long as it helps sect leader Lin. Speaking of which, I have some questions that I would like to ask Sect Master Lin. You said, for the sake of these 3 books, I will naturally tell you everything I know. Lin Yiren was indeed in a good mood, and agreed without thinking. That's it. Suyi thought for a while, briefly talked about Xinghan, and finally asked, I don't know if in this case, the extremely reduced lifespan is considered to be the 5 declines of heaven and man, or is it not a situation at all? If so, is there any way to solve it? If not, then look at it. Sect Master Yilin, what's going on? Hearing this, Lin Yiren hesitated for a moment, a little afraid to say, treat physical training and ki training as 2 completely different cultivation methods. After practicing to a certain level, then forcibly combine them to break through to a demigod. Damn it, the strength gained from such random training, I'm afraid, if you put it in our place, you won't even be able to. Even the most ordinary monks in the foundation establishment stage can be crushed with a snap of their fingers. How dare you call them demigods? The kind of pseudo-alchemy monks who have been cultivated in a messy way are probably even capable of being defeated by genius disciples from 2nd and 3rd-rate sects here. Even if you are beaten, you can actually become a god, and if you forcefully introduce spiritual energy into the body to release supernatural powers without exercising, or should we call it magic? If you practice in this way, even if you don't die from explosion, your life will probably be shortened, right? How long can the average monk in their world live? I'm afraid it's not the same as you imagined. Suyi shook his head and said, practitioners in that world have very long lifespans. Even some races specially created by the gods can live for hundreds or even thousands of years, even if they do not practice. Some created races are born with the ability to have extremely powerful, even if you don't practice. As long as you reach adulthood, you will have a strength that is roughly equivalent to the early and middle stages of physical training. Oh. Lin Yiren couldn't help but raise her eyebrows because of her mistake in guessing. But then she said, are there some extremely powerful creatures in their world? For example, creatures like mythical beasts that can possess the power of immortals when they grow up. Yes. Suyi thought of the giant dragon that ran out of Mengchuan City recently and nodded decisively. That makes sense. Extract the characteristics of these special creatures and artificially fuse them to create a new race. This is a strange thing, but it is something that the wild world can do, and we can in the Qingshan realm. This is what the evil sect does, and it is even more ostracized than demon sects like us, and they will really be besieged and attacked. Suyi was not surprised at all about Lin Yaren's speculation. Not long ago, Yuling had specifically told him these things there is part of dragon blood, or genes. In the elves it just matches what Lin Yaren said. Lin Yaren received a positive answer, but he was not complacent. He just continued, but if their gods really follow what you said, their realm is probably beyond the foundation building stage, but has not reached the pseudo-Ellen stage of the golden elixir stage. Then under normal circumstances it is absolutely impossible to create a race in this way. It is absolutely impossible to achieve these absolutes with the help of external forces. Or let me tell you more bluntly. In the Qingshan world, if you want to do this kind of thing, you must at least take action from those who are stronger than me. By the way, I forgot to ask you, how long do these so-called gods live? I don't know. Anyway, the oldest among them has lived for at least 3 to 5 million years, and some may even have lived for 1,000,000 years. Even those demigods have a lifespan of more than 10,000 years, so Yi is relatively clear about these things. You mean these are not even golden elixirs? The pseudo-elixir realm monks who dominate in a world with an underdeveloped cultivation system can live for hundreds of thousands, or even millions of years. Those in the foundation building period can live for tens of thousands of years. Lin Yaren's eyes widened immediately, but soon she seemed to have thought of something, and then she took a breath. I know. The origin of the world. The origin of the world and their world has been tampered with, so that the people in that world will absorb part of the power of the origin of the world when they practice. With the help of this special power, they can not only practice with such a crappy practice system, but also have an unimaginable long life for the Qingshan realm cultivators, and can also do some things that normal cultivators can only do after they have practiced to an extremely high level. Doesn't it sound good? Why do you look like you are not doing well? Suyi was a little confused. Don't you understand yet? Many things are not yours. If you use them forcefully, you will always have to pay a price, and the world's arbitrary use of the world's origin will most likely lead to the depletion of spiritual energy and even the destruction of the world. This is the price. Lin Yaren shook his head and said, the matter is basically clear. I can also tell you clearly about the things you asked me before. The friend named Xinghan you mentioned encountered the disaster of the 5 disasters of heaven and man. As for the solution, I have some tips here to help him temporarily delay the backlash of the 5 disasters of heaven and man. If you want to solve it completely, I have to find relevant cases and find a solution. Warm tips. The website is about to be revised, which may cause the loss of reading progress. Please save the bookshelf and reading records in time. Screenshots are recommended. We apologize for the inconvenience caused to you. Chapter 305. Being able to temporarily extend one's lifespan is already very good. After all, for such a being who can practice for several years or even decades, a mere 3 years lifespan is really too little. What's more, Suyi still has a trading platform in hand. As long as he has enough time, he will match more and more worlds. Sooner or later, he will encounter a world that can solve this problem. As long as you are alive, there will be hope, so it is most appropriate to put it here. The skills you gave me are very good. I will give you this prescription for the disaster avoiding pill. In addition, there are 3 finished products, all of which are top quality disaster avoiding pills. Lin Yaren casually traded over a prescription for elixir and a small porcelain bottle, and then said, the disaster avoidance pill is a pill that helps monks avoid various disasters. The so-called practice is something that goes against the will of heaven. The disasters encountered on the path of practice are far more than the decline of heaven and man caused by going astray. There are too many. Not all disasters have corresponding solutions. Even in our Qingshan world, many monks encounter some weird disasters due to their own cultivation techniques or methods, and it is difficult to deal with them. At this time, the importance of the disaster avoiding elixir becomes apparent. This elixir cannot actually solve the problem of disasters from the root, but it can allow the monks to enter a more bizarre state and avoid being scheming, to be watched by heaven, in order to avoid disasters brought by heaven. But I have to remind you that you can't take unlimited amounts of disaster avoiding pills. Depending on the monk's level of cultivation, different disasters, and the quality of the disaster avoiding pills, you will have different effects after taking them. As for the monk you mentioned, he suffered the calamity of the 5 declines of heaven and man. If his talent is not bad, then there is no problem in taking a dozen disaster avoiding pills. Each disaster avoiding pill will probably allow the monks to not have to worry about disasters for 3 to 5 years. During this period, they can devote all their energy to their own practice and defeat the situation. Once they break through the current realm, the so-called disasters the calamity will naturally recede. How long a pill is effective depends on each person. I don't need to tell you. The monk who takes the disaster avoidance pill will feel it himself. The monk you mentioned has only 3 years left in his life, mainly because of the calamity of the 5 declines of heaven and man. After using the disaster avoidance pill, the disaster will be temporarily dissipated, and the lifespan that he should have will naturally be restored. 10 disaster avoidance pills. It can probably extend her life by about 30 to 50 years. There are 3 pills in this bottle, and the pill recipe has been given to you. It is not difficult to refine this thing, and the materials are easy to find. You may want to refine it yourself later. That's it. Suyi carefully wrote down what she said. Originally, he was still thinking about what he could exchange for it, but now it seems that he doesn't need to bother so much, because the basic skills he gave away seemed a bit too awesome, and people are now giving this elixir as a gift. This saves Suyi a lot of things. At least Xinghan doesn't have to worry too much. But one thing has been solved temporarily, and more things have just begun. After matching a new trading partner, the business to be discussed is of course more than this. Suyi pondered for a moment and then said, I wonder if Sect Master Lin wants anything. What do I want? That's a lot. Lin Yaran directly made a list. I need all the medicinal herbs and materials here. Don't tell me you haven't. According to what you said before, there is at least one world where the cultivation system was born not long ago. And there are people who are bold enough to steal the origin of the world and cause chaos there. Usually, in this kind of world, it is easy to find some man-made rare treasures, and because the cultivation system was established not long ago, there are countless primitive treasures and resources. The ones on my list are basically large in quantity. It doesn't require anything rare. You can definitely come up with it. Suyi heard this and took the list and looked at it. There are all kinds of exclusive nouns for some medicinal materials in the Qingshan world. Things like ferntail grass, ice crystal flower, etc. sound very fantasy and fairy-like. But in fact he didn't know any of them. Fortunately, the trading system is considerate enough to make notes on these items and translate them into corresponding terms in Blue Star or the magic world. Suyi took a brief look and found that these things were really common and not rare magic crops. Most of them, even Suyi, have been brought to Blue Star for cultivation. The yield is not small, and many have even harvested several crops. There are only a few things that Blue Star does not have, but they are also marked in the language of the magic world, indicating that these things are available in the magic world. The amount Lin Yaran requested was large, but given Blue Star's large-scale cultivation and the magic world's method of using large magic arrays to cultivate, this amount was not considered large at all. The items in this list are at most similar to the magic crops he usually trades with Weiwei when he trades with Weiwei to earn points, which only amounts to 1,800 tons. After reading, Suyibian said, except for the production of a few items that I'm not sure about, I can supply all the other items you require. As for these items, I'll have to ask after I go back. No problem. Lin Yaran was decisive and said directly without any intention of pulling back, tell me, what else do you want? Su Yi said without thinking, I need the method of making jade slips. Jade slips? Lin Yaran was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't expect him to ask for this, but then he smiled and said, "You are indeed very discerning. This kind of thing is indeed very useful in a world where the cultivation system is not that developed. However, although it is not difficult to refine the jade slips and the materials are not difficult to find, it is not that easy to refine them. First of all, refining jade slips requires a refiner. If you only need to refine jade slips, there are no requirements for the refiner's cultivation level, but it involves various details. A refiner who does not have more than 10 years of refining experience, it's very difficult to make a finished product. Secondly, even if you have such a group of mature weapon refiners, it is useless. Even if I directly capture tens of thousands of weapon refiners and sell them to you as slaves, it is simply impossible for you to rely on these people to produce and use jade slips on a large scale. In reality, a low-grade ordinary weapon refiner can only make at most one day it can refine 1 or 2 jade slips, but 10,000 weapon refiners can only produce 1 or 2,000 jade slips per day. You can say that this thing is useless. In fact, it is somewhat useful, but you want to use this thing to forcefully raise the civilization level. It is definitely unrealistic to cultivate high-level talents in large numbers. Chapter 306. So at the end of the day, the problem is still about production volume. Suyi originally heard her say that this thing must be made by a specialized weapon refiner and thought it was hopeless, but when he heard her say that no cultivation was needed, as long as the refiner was experienced enough and there were enough people, he could refine jade slips in large quantities, but he discovered a blind spot point: it does not require any cultivation. Which proves that the refining of this thing is not forced by the means of monks on the metaphysical side, but requires skills. Although he doesn't know what kind of cultivation level this does not require, let alone the level of a basic weapon refiner, but it's totally okay to ask about this kind of thing. After thinking about it, Suyi took the phone out of his pocket, squeezed it open, and opened the phone case point. After opening it, he looked at it carefully for a while, then dug out a small black crystal, and then gave it to Lin Yaran. Can the weapon refiners in your world refine such a thing? This is the latest 1nm level carbon-based wafer produced by Shianayu Group. Its technological content is the ceiling for Blue Star, but it can only be regarded as average for Bailu Point. It was indeed incomparable with that jade slip, but in terms of production accuracy, Suyi didn't think that the jade slips made by those with little cultivation could be as difficult as this one point as expected. Lin Yaran took the small crystal and looked at it seriously for a while and then commented, "But it is exquisite and subtle. Although I don't know what it does, it is not an exaggeration to say that it is an ingenious workmanship to carve lines on such a small thing at a microscopic level. I'm afraid that only middle grade or even medium grade ones can do this over there. A higher level weapon refiner, an inferior weapon refiner and a low level weapon refiner will never be able to achieve this level." Speaking of this, her brows widened. In this case, if you have the technology to mass produce this kind of thing, then it will not be difficult for you to make this jade slip. The most important thing for this thing is the material, and the second is to carve some formation patterns at a subtle level. The latter is it's the hardest part, but it's not difficult for you. Is there nothing else besides this? Suyi was a little surprised. Point he originally just asked, and was thinking that in addition to the superb skills required to make these jade slips, they also needed certain monks' unique methods to enchant them. No, the key point of the jade slips is the formation pattern. If the formation pattern is well carved, and the materials are good, then it can be used. As for how to inject the knowledge you want to convey into the jade slips, this requires some cultivation assistance. Of course, it doesn't matter if you don't have any cultivation. There is a conversion formation in our world. You put the paper document knowledge into it, and then put the jade slip into another receiving formation, and you can quickly transfer the book to it. The knowledge is recorded on the jade slips. Lin Yaran shrugged. I can directly send you the materials required for refining the jade slips and the different formations engraved on them, as well as their functions. I can also give you 1,000 sets of finished products for changing the formations. These are just for trading the first batch of resources you gave me. Isn't that too much? Okay. Suyi agreed directly. Point there's actually nothing to bargain about. Point it is not an exaggeration to say that jade slips, a carrier of recorded knowledge, are priceless treasures. If they can be traded with only 1,800 tons of magic materials, they must be earned with blood, and cannot lose a little point as fallen urine. These things are considered junk in the King Shan world, and she naturally doesn't suffer at all. Point. This is why trading platforms exist. Point. As a member of the trading platform, trading here is a win-win situation. I can give you the things first. Is there anything else? If not, just end the transaction. I have to go back and take a bath. Linear and yawned boredly. Well, I also want to ask, does your world have that kind of? Suyi thought for a moment. Is it the kind of magic weapon that can be used by people who have no cultivation at all, and who don't know how to practice at all, and is powerful enough to threaten those pseudo-alchemy realms you mentioned? It's really hard for me to find such a weak magic weapon. Lin Yaran thought for a while, and then traded a purple-black banner through the system. This is a 10,000 souls banner that I refined when I first entered the golden core stage. It's not really a treasure, and it has no effect on me now. However, one characteristic of this magic weapon is that it does not have much restriction on the user's cultivation level. It mainly uses the 10,000 soul banner itself to drive the evil spirits and ghosts in it to kill the enemy. The biggest side effect is probably that it is permanent and may affect people's minds. I will give you a bracelet. If you wear it when using the 10,000 soul banner, you can avoid these side effects. In this 10,000 souls banner, I have collected the souls of 5 nascent soul stage monks, hundreds of golden core stage monks, and probably thousands in the foundation establishment stage. As for the key and body training stages below the foundation establishment, there are countless monks. There should be hundreds of thousands of them. I use this thing to kill several sects, although the soul puppets absorbed into the 10,000 souls banner cannot have the same fighting power as they did before they were alive. The souls in this 10,000 souls banner, the monks below the nascent soul stage, even the top sex genius monsters, will not be able to fight in the golden age. If you encounter it during the elixir stage, it will be a dead end if you don't have the corresponding magic weapon to protect you. A few ants in the pseudo elixir realm can be destroyed with a snap of the fingers. The recipe for the disaster avoiding pill can be considered as an extra reward for the skills you gave me. As for this 10,000 souls banner, just consider it as a personal gift from me. It's useless to keep it here, and I don't have a disciple to give it to. And there are not many people who are as suitable as you to practice the Golden Crow book. At least I haven't seen one in the King Shan realm. I really want to see what you will be like after you grow up. If you practice dual cultivation, will it greatly increase my cultivation as the ancient books say? Just consider it as a gift for you to protect yourself. It's better not to die too early, young man. Let's go. Chuckle. As soon as the voice fell, Lin Yaran disappeared directly in the trading space. Suyi's trading platform panel also had a 10,000 souls banner and an ancient bracelet. If it was in the world of cultivating immortals, he would definitely not dare to touch such a weird thing at first glance. But this is a trading space, and everything is watched by the trading platform. Lin Yaran can't do anything in this way. So, did he really get a treasure that can easily kill the gods in the magic world for free? Hiss, is this what it feels like to be a rich woman on the list? This is really generous. Warm tips. The website is about to be revised, which may cause the reading progress to be lost. Please save the bookshelf and reading records in time. We apologize for the inconvenience caused to you. Chapter 307. Along with the 10,000 souls banner and the pure heart bracelet, there are also instructions and methods on how to use the 10,000 souls banner according to the above records. Even ordinary people can control the 10,000 souls banner by just activating the formula. Unlike other magic weapons that have certain requirements for the user's cultivation level, the 10,000 soul banner is essentially a very special treasure. When it was first refined, it was not actually a powerful magic weapon in nature. It was a little stronger than the fire stick in the hands of ordinary people, but not much. Where is the strength? Naturally, the materials used are countless times more precious than ordinary sticks, and they are also much stronger. The best thing about it is that it is not easy to break compared to ordinary sticks. Then, gone. This is the original state of the 10,000 souls banner. It would be no exaggeration to say that it is useless at all. The materials required to refine this thing are so precious According to the above statement, if used as cultivation resources, they are enough for some sects to trade 10 or 8 golden elixir monks. Even if we put aside the precious materials required for this thing, the effect of its fresh refinement is indeed useless. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is dispensable. The only thing worthy of praise is probably the upper limit of the 10,000 soul banner. Theoretically, as long as you can beat and kill the opponent, you can absorb the opponent's soul into the 10,000 soul banner and refine it into a puppet for your own use. But here comes the problem again. If a monk is too weak, even if you put the soul of a mortal into it, it will be of little use. If a monk is too strong, you can kill him directly when he is alive. After he dies, what's the use of absorbing a weakened version into the 10,000 soul banner? If you really encounter a formidable enemy, you will not lack the help of these evil ghosts, not to mention that you kill people without giving a nod, but you also absorb people's souls into the 10,000 soul banner and refine them into puppets. This is something that most people find difficult to accept. Of course, this does not mean that no matter how many weak souls there are, they will be useless against the 10,000 soul banner. If there are enough weak souls in it, it can also cause a qualitative change, greatly increasing the power of this seemingly accumulated magic weapon. This led to another bad thing. That is, in order to increase the power of the 10,000 souls banner, some monks who have no bottom line slaughter living creatures unscrupulously, slaughtering cities and countries at every turn, killing mountains of corpses and seas of blood, just to make the 10,000 souls banner in their hands more powerful. Therefore, in the King Shan world, the 10,000 soul banner is usually considered to be a method used by those in the devil's path. Only someone like Lin Yiren, who is known as the master of the demonic sect, can take out such a thing at will. Due to the above characteristics, magic weapons like the 10,000 soul flags usually have only two uses. One is to open a map. The more you kill, the more powerful the 10,000 soul banner will be. In this way, it can keep up with the monk's own cultivation level, and it can be used as a good magic weapon to refine for yourself. The other one is like Lin Yiren. When I was young, I usually fought a lot with people and killed more people. I felt that it would be too much of a loss to kill the monks who provoked me. Plus, I had no shortage of resources at hand, so I practiced this thing. By the way, after killing those who have no eyes, you can also charge the 10,000 souls banner. After destroying the opponent's whole family or the sect you are in, you can even strengthen the 10,000 souls banner. But after all, people who don't have eyesight don't exist every day. After reaching a certain level of strength, no one dares to challenge her casually, and she doesn't bother to kill ordinary people to make the 10,000 soul banner stronger. So this thing, the speed of enhancement, will definitely not be able to keep up with the speed of her cultivation growth. So it became a rather useless magic weapon. According to the introduction, in the King Shan realm, many demon giants and even some strong men of the righteous path would secretly refine things like the 10,000 soul banner. It is not intended for personal use. It is also very good to carry it with you on weekdays and collect some souls from time to time. After it reaches a certain strength, it can be used for self-defense by the disciples or some juniors. The magic weapon refined for this purpose naturally does not have much requirements on the user's cultivation level. There is no need to erase the mark of the previous owner when using it. You can use it by simply recognizing the owner with a drop of blood. Even if you encounter a critical situation, you don't need to take the initiative to take it out. The soul puppet inside will take the initiative to protect the master, except for monks, who really have no lower limit. In the King Shan world, treasures such as the 10,000 soul flags are usually things that the seniors of the sect give to the juniors. It is very convenient to use. This thing is indeed of little use to Lin Yiren herself, but as the leader of a sect, she can pass it on to the younger generations of the sect. I gave it to Su Yi, which was a very important favor. As soon as he got it, it was equivalent to solving the threat of the gods facing the development of the magical world, which really helped him a lot. Until he exited the trading space and returned to his private space. He was still observing and sizing up the 10,000 soul banner. It was said to be the 10,000 souls banner, but it didn't look like the dark, decaying, tattered image in some of the film and television works Su Yi had seen. On the contrary, this thing looks very delicate and beautiful. The height of nearly 3 meters makes it look very tall. The material of the pole is very special. It looks like jade but not jade, and looks like gold but not gold. It is smooth and comfortable in the hand, and does not feel cold at all. The main body of the flag is made of a kind of silk-like fabric, embroidered with complicated patterns. The pattern seems to be a majestic palace, but when you look at it again, it seems to be an endless hell, with countless wronged souls and ghosts wailing in it. The surroundings were filled with a dark purple aura. At a glance, it was as if one could see an endless abyss that seemed to suck in all the souls of people. Mysterious and powerful. This was the feeling when seeing the 10,000 souls banner. Good. Baby, Sue. Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Then he sent a message to Welly Welly, who was waiting for his message. We have found a way to resolve the threats from those gods, but I need to confirm it first. You can have someone contact the dragon first, and then contact me after they come in contact. After sending the message, he directly exited the trading platform and returned to Blue Star, or to be more specific, he returned to the Kunpeng space attack ship. At this time, the starship was under the attention of the public, slowly entering the orbit of the moon, and the hatch below was already open. The alien survival module was ready. With just one order, it could be thrown onto the moon to establish the first long-term lunar base on Blue Star that could accommodate hundreds of people. And this historic moment naturally required Su Yi, the boss of the Xianyu group, to carry out the final launch ceremony. Chapter 308. Why did you take so long this time? The starship has already reached the moon. According to the previous plan, you still have to press the launch button. Hurry up and change your clothes, Su. Yi just returned to the spaceship and saw Yuling waiting on the side. At this time, Yuling had changed into a plain white dress and was holding a set of clothes in her hand. Seeing Su Yi coming out, she urged him to change his clothes quickly. Su Yi had just matched and bound to a world of immortal cultivation. He was in a good mood at this time. Seeing Yuling, he couldn't help hugging her and kissing her. Yuling didn't resist at all. She reacted immediately and asked with a smile, "What good things have you encountered again?" "Great things. Let's talk about it later. Let's go and get the ceremony done first." Su Yi kept it a secret. Yuling just smiled and didn't urge him. Soon, the two who changed their clothes came directly to the bridge. In fact, it wasn't that Su Yi had to pretend to press the launch button under the attention of everyone. The main reason is that there are only a few sets of alien survival modules on the starship, and each set is very precious. It can be said that it is worth a lot of money in the Interstellar Alliance. Once it is launched, there is no such thing as recycling it. Therefore, only the captain of the entire starship is qualified to launch such things. Even if Su Yi asked others to do it for him, it would not work. As the shipborne AI, Chiangsuan only recognizes him as the captain in this matter. No one else can be replaced. This can be said to be the rigor of AI, or the rigidity of AI. In short, if he doesn't come, with the permission of Yuling and others, at most, the starship can only return to the orbit of the Blue Star, and then open the hatch to release the landing craft to send people back. This module will definitely not be dropped on the moon. This is a reason why the entire starship is still circling the lunar orbit and has not launched the module after more than 3 hours beyond the expected launch time. Wasting more than 3 hours is naturally nothing for the people on the starship. After all, it was their first time to go to space with a starship, and they were still circling the moon. Not to mention 3 hours, even if it was delayed for 3 or 5 days, as long as they had food and water to eat and didn't starve to death, they had no objection. It was so cool to be able to stroll around the starship while waiting. A starship that was several kilometers long could not be explored in a few days. They wished that the time would be delayed longer, but for those watching the live broadcast on the ground, it would be too hard to endure. The people who were paying attention to this matter were not only the people in Jiuzhou, but the residents all over the world. When they arrived at the lunar orbit, it was early in the morning in Jiuzhou. Many people in Jiuzhou had not slept all night to pay attention to the starship, looking forward to the scene of the survival module mentioned by Xianyu group being put on the moon. Even if many people couldn't stand it at night, they only dared to rest for a while, for fear of missing some unforgettable scenes in their lives and not being able to witness history. Compared to Jiuzhou, which was morning and gave the audience time to sleep at night, It was even more tormenting for the audience abroad. Many people were woken up by their friends and relatives in their sleep to watch the live broadcast. They heard that someone was going to the moon and the spaceship was carrying thousands of people on the way. Most people were confused. When they saw the close-ups of the starship from multiple angles in the live broadcast room and the huge starship flying in the starry sky, most people's first reaction was that they were not awake. And the rest was WTF. After being surprised, they were sure that they were not still dreaming, and naturally they had a greater sense of expectation. Some hoped that Shia Group's feat would succeed, while others prayed that this action would fail quickly. After all, the entire Western camp had been beaten to a pulp by Shia Group. Many people hoped that Shia Group would fail to boost the confidence of their own camp. Under the attention of everyone. Sui missed the show, and he missed the show for several hours. Why did it take so long? Did something unexpected happen during the flight? I think there must have been an accident. I'm a space enthusiast and I'm very familiar with aerospace. This industry is usually very time conscious. If it is not in line with the expected time by a few minutes, the launch mission may be cancelled. This is still a common launch that humans are very familiar with, and the technology is very mature. It is unprecedented to integrate a large base into a module, send it to the surface of the moon as a whole, and then let it spread automatically. The technology involved is so complicated that it makes people scalp numb. Now it has exceeded the expected time for so long. Anyway, in my opinion, it is probably difficult to send that module down today. Indeed, from the perspective of aerospace, there are many windows. Even the most ordinary rockets launching satellites have very particular launch times, and they are not random. This delay of 3 hours will definitely not be done today. I think everyone should disperse. It's hard to say. The low Earth orbit vehicle of Shia Group connects the surface and the starship casually. Do you need to pay attention to the window period like you launch a satellite? Why do some people always like to use their backward experience to evaluate unknown things? In the field of aerospace, all launch missions need to pay attention to the window period. Is this common sense? Common sense? Does your common sense tell you that there will be bug level vehicles like low Earth orbiters on the blue planet that connect the surface and space? Your common sense tells you that Shia Group can quietly build such a behemoth, and it can fly to the lunar orbit in 10 hours, and there are no requirements for the crew. Can anyone get on it? Common sense. Common sense. It's a mess. You know shit. When I was paying attention to aerospace, you little brats were still in the womb and hadn't been born yet. Ignoring any time window and forcibly launching. This kind of thing can't be done by people with the technology of the bald eagle. How can Shia Group do it? You just know how to brag every day and don't do anything practical. I know shit. You pay attention to aerospace? I'm a researcher at How Aerospace. This is my certificate. You know more than me? Damn, the pretentious guy blew up the real boss. It's so funny. The space enthusiast who came to the door. Say something. What did you say? Such an arrogant person can actually be a researcher at Aerospace. I just feel sad. This country is finished. If you had boasted less and learned more from the scientific research spirit of the bald eagle, you wouldn't have kept everyone hanging for 3 hours without daring to launch. I really want to say something, but after thinking about it, forget it. It's a waste of time to talk to such a rebellious person. The more ignorant people are, the more confident they are. The bald eagle is still drooling, even if he is cured. If the bald eagle can build such a starship, it would have dominated the world long ago. The more ignorant, the more confident. There is no one in our school who is not amazed by the technology of Shia Group. What is the name of your school? Oh, Jinking University. Chapter 309. If the evaluation of the delay in How is normal, except for a few people who are very outrageous, most people are just joining in the fun to witness history. Then the evaluation outside How is quite unbearable. Most people are watching the live broadcast with complicated feelings at this moment. On the one hand, they hope that Shia Group can succeed, and on the other hand, they hope that Shia Group will fail. The reason for hoping for success is very simple. Although some people usually like to lie with their eyes open, shouting that the grand narrative has nothing to do with ordinary people. In fact, everyone knows that the changes at the macro level are really closely related to ordinary people. This is not only reflected in the so-called stock market. The simplest comparison is that if the grand narrative has nothing to do with ordinary people, then the lives of all ordinary people in this world should be similar, but the actual situation is obviously not the case. In some countries, ordinary people are leisurely and enjoy super high welfare, and the treatment of being in prison is super high. Although some countries do not have super high welfare, ordinary people can have a good salary, as long as they do not work so hard, which allows them to purchase cheap goods at will without any economic pressure. In some countries, ordinary people work hard and are busy. There is a shortage of relatively easy high-end technical jobs and a large number of labor-intensive industries. Ordinary people live very hard and are paid far less than those in high welfare countries, but they can barely make a living, and many people even live quite well. In some countries, there are no serious industries, and ordinary people can only do the most basic physical work or labor in exchange for wages to maintain food and clothing. In many more countries, ordinary people have problems with food and clothing. Famine and plague are still raging, and even wars are flying. They have to face cruel wars between hunger and cold. The food wasted by ordinary people in developed countries in a year is enough to feed all the people in those poor countries who can't afford to eat. This is reality. If ordinary people really have nothing to do with the grand narrative at the national level, then all this should obviously not happen. Can't anyone really think that it is individuals, rather than the country as a whole, that cause this difference? Is it possible that everyone in developed countries is smarter and stronger than people in underdeveloped countries? Nonsense. The development of a country is closely related to everyone in the country, so the progress of a civilization will obviously drive the progress of all people in the entire civilization. Even if Sui and Xianyu Group will not do this, it will still happen. After all, Xianyu Group's products will eventually be sold to the outside world, and Xianyu Group's nuclear fusion facilities will definitely be rolled out all over the world in the future. And it is impossible to be limited to Jiaozhou. Of course, Suyi's own calculations are included. He wants to control the energy lifeline of the world. To put it bluntly, he wants to build Xianyu Group into an unprecedented end-of-life oligarchy in the history of human beings on Blue Star. But no matter what his own purpose is, all this will objectively drive the overall progress of mankind. The extremely cheap nuclear fusion energy will make everyone no longer bound by food and clothing, and the helium-3 collected by the lunar base is enough for humans to use for tens of thousands of years. The birth of various new technologies will rapidly promote the overall human civilization. Therefore, even if you do not belong to the Jiaozhou camp and do not like Xianyu Group, as long as you have a little basic common sense, you will hope that Xianyu Group can succeed. Those who hope that Xianyu Group will fail don't have any complicated thoughts. They probably just have a very simple zero-sum game in their minds. They think that Xianyu Group is not their own people in the Western camp, so they would rather humans stay where they are than hope that Xianyu Group can succeed. Anyway, even if humans stay where they are still noble Western masters. They can use the technology accumulated over the past hundreds of years and the rules they have established to suck the marrow out of everyone in the world and maintain their high welfare society. Some people hope to succeed and fail at the same time. Human nature is complex, and it is not surprising that such a contradictory situation occurs. In short, as the time is getting longer and longer from the established time, the voices of doubt will naturally increase. This is inevitable. But whether it is Suyi, other people in Xianyu Group, or those who really know the business on Blue Star, these doubts are basically ignored. After all, at this point, when this starship appeared in everyone's vision, the status of Xianyu Group on Blue Star could no longer be shaken by any one point. Whether the base on the moon is delivered successfully or not, it will not have any impact on the Xianyu Group. Even if it fails in front of the whole world, it will be a big mess apart from some verbal attacks on the internet. Could it be that the people of that organization are forced there to jump out and mock the Shia group or Suyi? Then Suyik has to ask him if he is imagining it point in the current situation, let alone other forces. Even if the bald eagle is asked about this, it is estimated that he can only smile and say it is a pity point such a big starship is hanging over his head. Not long ago, a woman from the Shia group ran to the territory of the bald eagle and destroyed the entire city with a storm point. The think tank of the bald eagle analyzed that this might be some kind of meteorological weapon point. Although they don't have nuclear weapons, their various means are much more powerful than nuclear weapons, and they are clean, environmentally friendly and radiation free, so there is no psychological burden to use. The Point2 is not afraid of this. Finally, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, after the launch was delayed for more than 3 hours, Suyi and Yuling appeared on all the big screens of the live broadcast. However, compared with the calmness of each previous press conference, Suyi's steps this time seemed a little hurried, and he was a little impatient when communicating with the staff. After arriving at the scene point, all of this was photographed by several sharp-eyed reporters. Mr. Su looks very busy. Nonsense. Such a big mess has happened, and it has been delayed for several hours. It would be strange if he is not anxious. Otherwise, young people can't keep their temper. It's just a little accident. It's actually a small problem. He, the chairman of a large group, should be calmer. Guess whether he is here for the launch ceremony or to announce the cancellation of the launch due to technical failure. I guess it's the latter. Indeed, I'm a psychologist. Seeing him so anxious, it must be a bad thing. I guess it should be that the launch will be cancelled this time. The brothers on board really became a one-day tour of the lunar orbit. I'm afraid there will be no chance to visit the lunar surface as mentioned before. Well, let it fail. With the technology of Shia group, it is not difficult to go to the moon. It will be the same next time when we are ready. It is a small problem. Indeed, it is just a failure. It is no big deal. Seeing Suyi appear, many people guessed from his expression that the delivery to the moon base that was delayed for several hours might fail. However, what everyone never expected was that after Suyi in the picture confirmed something with the staff on the scene in Chiangsaen, he hurriedly walked straight to the platform in the middle of the auditorium inside the starship point in front of everyone. He slapped the button representing delivery. Chapter 310. Sorry to have kept you waiting for so long. The first base module on the moon has been deployed and will be deployed in half an hour. We will then send 10 near-Earth orbit vehicles, or landing craft, to land on the base on the moon. Friends who want to experience the moon's surface can go there. As compensation, I will give you 3 extra days of moon sightseeing time. The starship will return to the orbit of the blue planet first, and you can take the landing craft back to the blue planet after the time is up. As for why it took so long to be deployed, in addition to some of my personal reasons, it is mainly because our Shia group has made a technological breakthrough in a new field. It is no exaggeration to say that this technology can completely change the current human civilization and make civilization completely progress. I will not go into details about what it is. You can pay attention to the follow-up. It should meet you soon. That's it. I wish you all a happy life. After saying a few polite words and releasing some news to arouse everyone's curiosity, Suyi hurried away again. The live broadcast was shown to everyone, and the people on the starship were all stunned. No, it's over? They thought that Suyi's hasty appearance was because there was a problem with the delivery mission and it had to be cancelled. They never expected that the failure that those people had vowed before did not exist at all. And judging from the situation, it was not a technical reason that it took so long. Suyi came up and took a casual shot, and the huge lunar base module that had been opened for a long time but not delivered was thrown out from the belly of the starship point, and from the perspective of the live broadcast, it was flying to the surface of the moon at a very stable speed, and there were even a lot of thrusters for fine-tuning in the middle. It was so stable that it didn't look like there was any technical problem at all. Suyi's attitude of not caring at all was even more outrageous. No, buddy, you threw such an important thing out and didn't even check whether it could land smoothly. Just said a few words and left. Isn't this a bit too casual? For a moment, everyone was confused by the set of operations. The thing he said at the end, that could completely change human civilization and make civilization progress, aroused everyone's curiosity. This not only made ordinary people curious, but even the top leaders of various countries were scratching their heads and wanted to know what it was after all. The things that Shia Group brought out, such as starships and nuclear fusion technology, every technology in it can be said to be able to change human civilization. Point. When Suyi threw out these technologies, he never said such a big thing as changing human civilization. Point. But this time he said so. Point. Does that mean that Shia Group's new technology is more advanced than starships and nuclear fusion? That's really a bit too much. If Shia Group doesn't care, can the game Blue Star Roll still be played? This is the first reaction of many top leaders of countries at this moment. Mr. Su, what exactly is that thing you are talking about? Old Man Lin found Suyi as soon as possible. Point. The two of them were old acquaintances. He also knew Suyi's character and knew that there was no need to hide anything. Just say whatever you want to say. Point. Suyi didn't mean to hide it. After all, if this thing goes well, it will be done in a while. By then, Old Man Lin will definitely be the first person outside the Shia Group to know about it. Point. In addition, this old man has an advantage. That is, he is old and smart, and he knows very well what can be said and what cannot be said. If you tell him, it will not be spread. Point. Naturally, there is no need to worry. In fact, it's nothing. It's just a very special technology that can convert the carrier of knowledge from ordinary text into a certain information flow and then directly instill it into people's brains. People who accept this knowledge not only suddenly have more content about this knowledge in their minds, but also can integrate it. In other words, it means that after 10 years of hard study, you will really not know as much as an illiterate who uses our group's products. So, Yi explained briefly. Point. It directly caused Old Man Lin to crash pour knowledge into people's brains. He repeated it for a long time before he could barely understand what it meant, but it was still a little difficult to understand. You mean, even if a person doesn't even know the characters, he can become the most knowledgeable scholar in minutes through this method? That's not the case. Suyi shook his head and said, the amount of information that the human brain can bear at one time is limited. At present, we don't have specific data as a reference, but I don't recommend directly pouring all the current content of human civilization into a person's brain at one time. If the brain is damaged, it will be difficult to repair, but I guess there is no problem in instilling the basic knowledge of a certain subject or industry at one time. In addition, I need to tell you that this method will only instill knowledge into people, but it will not affect a person's thinking through special means. The thinking of people who use the jade slips may be guided and changed by the content of these knowledge, but it is definitely not affected by us through other means. You should understand this. After all, knowledge does change people's way of thinking and position. Since you ask me now, I will say a few more words. Our Shia Group will either postpone the release of this thing forever, or it can be mass produced. If it is released, Jiao's house should make some preparations in advance. For example, find a group of trustworthy people to organize the documents and materials and send them to our Shia Group and customize these products for us so that no one can stuff some messy knowledge into it to deliberately guide people in the direction of stupidity. And instead of achieving civilization progress, a group of giant babies are mass produced to cause trouble to the world. In fact, to a certain extent, teaching people knowledge in a certain direction is to make people's thinking go in that direction. This is an indisputable fact. So, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he did not intend to hide this matter from Jia's house from the beginning. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311. After briefly talking to Old Man Lin about the general use of the jade slip, Suyi did not mention it anymore. He even reminded Old Man Lin that this thing might not be successful yet, so he should just know it in his mind and not publicize it for the time being. He only thought that this thing should be mass produced at present. Whether it can really be mass produced depends on the subsequent technical demonstration and the production of samples. It is too early to say it now. If it cannot be mass produced at that time, it will be too funny. Old man Lin just came to inquire about it out of curiosity, but he did not mean to dig deep. After hearing what he said, he naturally knew it. However, even if it is not publicized, facing such a possible technology, according to the rigor of the Jiao government, they will definitely make some preparations and plans in advance after knowing it, such as Su Yi said, a group of professional and normal scholars will be transferred to organize learning materials and related knowledge materials for various industries anyway. It won't take much effort, and to a certain extent, we can even sort out the current technological development in various aspects. Even if Su Yi, the new knowledge carrier, cannot be developed at that time, Jiao's loss can be ignored, and it may even be beneficial to development. Things that have no harm can naturally be prepared in advance. Soon after the lunar base module was delivered, a large number of live broadcasts switched from the Starship to a landing craft that was specially responsible for filming this historic moment. The landing craft approached the surface of the moon directly and stopped above the delivery point. In advance. The entire process of the lunar base module being delivered was filmed by several cameras, and because the landing craft was controlled by AI, all the shooting angles from beginning to end were almost perfect. The people watching the live broadcast camera saw the entire delivery process clearly. The giant across the starry sky slowly opened the delivery hatch on its belly, revealing a huge base module that looked like a Rubik's Cube. Then, as Su Yi pressed the button, the entire module instantly disconnected from the Kunpeng Starship, and under the action of the booster, it was instantly ejected from the Starship delivery cabin. Then, what many people didn't expect was that there was no deceleration, let alone any messy orbit changes. The ejected base module was like a square meteorite, smashing directly onto the surface of the moon. Accompanied by a loud bang, the moon's surface was smashed into dust. No, buddy, it really landed hard. Wait a minute, did it succeed or crash? If it succeeded, it shouldn't be so noisy, right? Good man, this power looks like a fucking nuclear explosion. If it weren't for the thin atmosphere of the moon, I'm afraid it would have made a mushroom cloud, right? Is this delivery method sure? There's nothing wrong. There must be a problem. Damn, I saw that Xianyu group said that this module is very sophisticated. After landing, it will be spread out again and can be unfolded into a huge alien survival base covering several kilometers. There must be a problem. If it falls down like this is definitely a space accident. The more sophisticated the design, the less resistant it is to falling. Let alone this modular survival base. You can see it by dropping your own mobile phone. It is difficult for precision instruments to not be damaged by severe vibration. And it is not just a fall. This speed is no different from falling down. What's the hurry? The smoke and dust haven't dispersed yet. Can't we wait until the smoke disperses? The moon is not a blue planet. The gravity is much lower than that of a blue planet. Maybe this is the delivery method designed by others. Another brainless fan. Don't you have any common sense? What does this have to do with gravity? No matter how low the gravity of the moon is, it still has gravity, and its mass is large enough. This base module fell directly, and it accelerated in the middle, just like two stones hitting each other. But the moon is made of real stone, not only big but also hard. The so-called base module of your Xianyu group is essentially a pile of spliced building blocks. It's waiting for the smoke to clear. You don't need to see it to know that it is definitely smashed to pieces. Why do people always like to open champagne and sing bad words in advance? I didn't know to check the official website of Xianyu group before. They have just released real-time news that the lunar base module has landed according to the scheduled plan. The geological environment around the landing point is currently being deeply mapped. It is expected to start in an hour. Haha, you believe they're bragging? It's smashed like this, and they still say it's okay. Only fools believe it. It will be launched in an hour. With Xianyu Group's network technology, who can tell the difference when a fake video is connected to the live broadcast? Only you brain-dead fans believe everything they say. Still talking hard, but it's useless. I can tell you again that Xianyu Group has announced the coordinates of the center point of the scheduled delivery site of the lunar base on its official website more than 10 hours ago. and the coordinates are accurate to the centimeter level. Just now, China Group once again announced the landing coordinates of the delivery capsule, which are exactly the same as the previously scheduled coordinates, with an error of millimeters. Oh. So what? Stupid. These coordinates cannot be faked. Even on the Blue Star, as long as the equipment is professional enough, it can be calculated, based on some existing technologies to determine whether the coordinates are deviated. Can you lie about this? You are stupid. With the power of China Group, even if someone finds that the coordinates are wrong, who dares to say it out? Don't want to live? Suyi has never met anyone who actually gave feedback on the product offline. Isn't it generally acknowledged that China Group's product after sales service is the best in the world? If it can be solved, it will be publicized. If it can't be solved, it will be solved secretly by the person who raised the problem. You brainless fans must not see it. Point. If you see it, you can bring out the evidence and I will help you. If not, stop barking. Point. I still want to live a few more years. How can you young people understand the darkness of society? China Group has become so big in such a short time. Do you really think it's just because of technology? I don't know how many murders and robberies they have done in private. Who dares to say it? Cheers. How officials don't dare. How dare I say it? While saying that he dare not say it, he sprayed fiercely in the live broadcast room of China Group's official website. You are invincible, buddy. If China Group really wants to tell you, I'm afraid the grass on your grave will be several meters high. Point. I found out. The guy Lewin who came to my house was the boss of a large private hospital. It's so funny. He is now bankrupt because of China Group's water of life. After all, they said that they couldn't do the various medical supplies and therapeutic effects they said when they cheated people, but they could do it with their water of life. And because it is a private hospital, there is no channel for negotiation with China Group. In addition, the sales of water of life are transparent. China Group also promised that, as long as the water of life is of the same specifications, the quality is the same. So he can't buy water of life from China Group at a low price to cheat money. Now he is not only bankrupt, but also in debt of tens of millions. I was wondering why he hated it so much. It turned out that he was a black-hearted boss who was bankrupted by China Group's technology. Now he can only say that he died a good death. Point. You are doing human flesh search on others like this. It is illegal. I will sue you. Don't worry. When you use the real name system to go online, your ID is your name and your avatar is yourself. The news of private hospital bankruptcy is all over the internet. What kind of human flesh search is this? Aren't you stupid? Chapter 312. Since the landing method was indeed a bit beyond the expectations of the Blue Star people, and the network environment was too impetuous, this kind of thing, that only needed 1 or 2 hours to know the result after the smoke and dust cleared, also caused quite a stir on the internet. Point. In short, it was quite outrageous. There is no need to say more about what happened afterwards. The alien base module designed by the Interstellar Alliance was originally intended to be deployed on planets with extremely harsh environments, but abundant resources. The resources on the moon are naturally very poor for the Blue Star people, but compared to the design limit of the base module, it is simply child's play. Point. There are several options for delivery methods. The way that the Blue Star people remember to slowly change the orbit step by step and land steadily is of course possible, but it is time consuming and labor intensive. In addition to making the landing error accurate to the nanometer level, there is almost no additional effect, except that there is almost no error with the predetermined location. Point. This delivery method is prepared for planets with extremely harsh environments, even so harsh that there are not even a few places to land on the surface of the planet, such as some liquid or even gaseous planets on this planet. The conditions for the deployment of the huge base module are very harsh, so some footholds need to be prepared in advance, which is as important as the pile foundation when building a house. Point. In order to ensure the stability of the base after deployment, it is necessary to land with extremely high precision and perfectly dock with the pile foundations laid in advance. Point. But the moon is a simple solid satellite, and the surface environment is not complicated. So this is unnecessary. Point. Just mash it down and it's done. Anyway, there is no lack of accuracy. The area chosen to deliver the base is all thick rock surface, and there are many footholds. After the debate lasted for about an hour, as the smoke and dust dissipated, the complete base module appeared in front of everyone, and all doubts were naturally broken. Shia group is still the Shia group. Such a seemingly outrageous method can often appear extremely normal beyond common sense, once again shutting up all those unknown creatures who question from the perspective of common sense. And then, people also saw the magnificent scene that no one has ever seen in the history of human spaceflight. The huge base module weighing tens of thousands of tons slowly unfolded on the lunar surface, spreading on the lunar surface like a mechanical giant beast crawling on the ground, slowly stretching its body. After waking up, the whole process lasted for more than half an hour. Finally, with the closure of the last gap, the internal self-inspection of the base ended, and the under construction indicator light turned from red to green, which also meant that the first lunar base in human history was completely completed. And all this was done in front of everyone in the world, especially when there were some reference objects such as mountains and rivers on the moon around. People could see how huge the base was very intuitively in the camera. It really worked. Such a big thing was thrown on the surface of the moon and then let it unfold automatically. Isn't this really Zenith Star technology? This is the first time I have seen such a scene. What's going on with people's hearts surging? It can be foreseen that this video of the lunar base unfolding may become the material of many science fiction films in the future. Of course, the premise is that Shia group is willing to give the copyright. This is a true interstellar wonder, right? If Shia group really has mature technology in this area, doesn't it mean that theoretically, human bases can be spread throughout the solar system? Still watching Gimeo sci-fi movies. The imagination of sci-fi movies is not as big as that of Shia group. The key is that they not only have imagination, but also can really make things, and what they make is really useful. You can't help but accept this. Next, will we dock the landing craft and let people enter it? I don't know how to dock it, and whether it is the same as I imagined. I have said it many times. I was curious, and went to the official website of Shia group. They wrote all the parameters clearly. There are several ways to dock the aircraft used in this lunar base. One is external connection and the other is to enter directly. The external link needs to accurately dock with the interface extending from the base to realize the interaction between personnel and goods. This is more troublesome and is usually only suitable for docking with larger spacecraft when transporting goods. There is nothing much to say about directly entering the interior. It is just like the scene of landing craft entering the starship that everyone has seen before. It directly enters a cabin, uses technology to eliminate radiation and fill oxygen, and then people and goods can come out. What is this? When everyone's eyes were on the moon base, in front of the captain's room of the starship, Xinghan looked at the mass of things that looked like machinery and flesh, frowning. I don't know. The shipboard AI said that this is called the Destiny level power armor, which is the most advanced power armor in another technological world. Only the captain can use it, but Yuling said at the time that this thing is a bit strange, so I haven't used it. Suyi shrugged. Do you have any clues? It's really strange. There is a section in it. Xinghan thought for a moment, as if he was thinking about how to describe it. After thinking for a long time, he slapped his forehead and said, program. Yes, program. But it's different from your Blue Star computer program. This program should be able to directly affect the human brain. After being combined with the human brain, it will control people to a certain extent, to do what the person who designed this program wants to do. What you are asked to do is not absolute, nor does it directly change a person very violently, but a subtle change. In other words, after wearing this set of power armor, your personality will change over time. It will also change slowly. This is a very slow process that ordinary people cannot feel. Yuling seemed to have mentioned it to me once before, saying that she felt that there seemed to be a soul in it, which is actually true. It is definitely not true to say that this thing is an independent life, but it is said to be a ghost with independent consciousness. No problem at all. After all, as soon as you put it on, you will gradually become what it is. Is there a solution? So, Yi was not too surprised that Xinghan could see more things at a glance. After all, even Yuling could tell that something was wrong with this thing. Xinghan was also a demigod after all, and he was not in the same realm as Yuling. More details are given. From a metaphysical or magical point of view, it should be enough to erase the consciousness changing program inside. After erasing it, you will not be affected by the metaphysical means, even if you put it on. But will there be any? It's hard to say what kind of backdoor there is on the technology side. After all, some basic things about technology are easy to understand, but when it comes to advanced high-end technology, it becomes very complicated. Xinghan had just come into contact with the technological system not long ago, so it was obviously impossible for him to say that he could understand the most cutting-edge technological products of this other world. After all, this thing is in her perception. Even if the consciousness inside is not mentioned, it does not require human control. It feels close to a 7th level warrior in the magical world. If someone puts it on and can control it skillfully, they may be able to kill a 7th level warrior with a few punches. This is where technologists are unreasonable. An ordinary person, wearing a set of awesome equipment, can easily defeat a practitioner who has been practicing for decades or even hundreds of years. This matter seemed quite outrageous to Xinghan, and it was obviously impossible for her to understand the principle behind it in a short time. Chapter 313. Erase the influence of the metaphysical part on people, but can't guarantee whether this power armor itself has some technological means that can affect people. So, Yi pondered for a moment, and then said, then try to erase the consciousness inside. Xinghan didn't waste any words when he heard it, and raised his hand. The next moment, the mechanical structure that was originally beating slowly like a heart suddenly accelerated, as if it had encountered something very painful. However, this process did not last long. As a ball of blood red light was peeled off by Xinghan from the destiny level power armor. It was originally a bit like a machine and a bit like flesh and blood, like a heart, and it didn't look like a power armor at all. It also changed rapidly, like quicksand and tides, and a large number of inexplicable decorations on the surface of the body quickly faded. In the end, only a dark red power armor with a very hideous and cool appearance was left. Fault. Prompt: the built-in AI module of the Destiny level power armor is damaged. Please replace it in time. The prompt sound came from the inside of the power armor. Suyi was unmoved by what he said, and just asked directly to the air. Xiangsun, does the damage to this AI module affect the use of the power armor? The ship girl appeared at the scene at the speed of light, and after taking a look in a serious manner, she said, Captain, the error message of the power armor is very strange. The built-in AI module is damaged. According to my understanding of various weapons, the possibility of such a problem is very small, but once it occurs, it is basically equivalent to the complete paralysis of the equipment, and the AI module needs to be replaced to restart, because the equipment that can be equipped with AI is either large equipment, or like the power armor in front of you, it is not large, but extremely precise. The AI module is damaged, and it is impossible to control it by the driver alone. Only AI-assisted control equipment can be added. No matter which one it is, the damage of the AI module is like a person breaking a leg or going blind, and naturally he cannot continue to live a normal life. But the current situation is very special. This Destiny class power armor has clearly had an AI module error. After checking it, it was found that the AI was not damaged at all. All normal programs and emergency processing programs are running, and it is completely in a state that can still be used. And the state is very good, just waiting for you to activate it, and it can be used. Xiangsun is a shipborne AI, and it is also the most advanced one in the war AI of the Interstellar Alliance. She is naturally very familiar with these weapons. After hearing what she said, Suyi was relieved. It means that after the strange consciousness existing in the power armor is stripped away, it will not affect the use of the Destiny class power armor. The next thing to consider is whether there is any backdoor on the technology side, and whether there will be any danger after wearing it. Suyi asked Xiangsun again, and her answer was that there is no problem at all. Out. This is not surprising. After the shipboard AI was bound to him as the captain, it was absolutely loyal, and could not lie. This was written into the underlying logic of the AI, and could not be faked. But she had said before that there was no problem with this Destiny class power armor, which meant that Xiangsun could not tell whether there was any problem with this thing. It could not be said that she was incompetent, but that this thing was designed most likely for the starship captain, a senior member of the Interstellar Alliance. It was naturally impossible for the AI on the starship, who was absolutely loyal to the captain, to see it. Therefore, after getting Chiang Tzuan's guarantee that there was no problem, Suyi still did not dare to take it lightly. Fortunately, to verify whether this thing was safe in terms of pure technology, after stripping away the consciousness in it, Suyi really had other better ways. Trading platform. The fact that this set of power armor could be sold by Bailu through the trading platform was not a mistake of the trading platform, but that the platform system defaulted that this thing was an item brought by the starship. When trading the starship and its own items, there were clauses that clearly stipulated that this thing had certain risks, and Suyi was reminded to operate with caution. After all, if he is not careful enough in the operation of a starship of millions of tons, and takes out the starship directly on Blue Star, the power of the fall alone will kill him. The alien base module that comes with the starship is similar. Trading such a large volume item is obviously risky. In addition, there are too many things in it. It is impossible for Suyi and Bailu to take out each item one by one to avoid risks. They can only take them all at once. That's why such a Destiny level power armor with huge potential risks was sent here together with the starship. And it's also very simple for him to verify whether this thing still has risks through the trading platform. Take it out and find a trading partner to trade it, and then write guarantee that the item will not cause harm to the user at any time and under any circumstances in the transaction terms. If it can pass, it means that after Xingham erase the special consciousness belonging to the metaphysical side, this Destiny level power armor itself has no risk. If it cannot be passed, then the transaction terms must be subdivided into many areas, and all possible situations must be considered one by one, and the prerequisites must be made more detailed. If it still cannot be passed, it means that this thing also has a background in the technology side, and it must be used with caution. The logic here is very simple. In essence, it is to test whether the items are safe enough through the mechanism of absolute fairness and justice on the trading platform, and zero tolerance for any counterfeit, shoddy, and false propaganda products. Unless this is something that is more powerful than the trading platform, it will definitely not be hidden from the trading platform. The technology in the world where Bailu lives is really more powerful than the trading platform. She would not dare to rob this and that in the Interstellar Alliance so unscrupulously through the trading space given by the trading platform, or even go to the core starport of the Interstellar Alliance to rob a starship that has been built and packed and is waiting for someone to receive it. Chapter 314. After deciding on the method, Suyi was very quick to act. He went straight to Wooey. This girl usually came to him for help, so it was reasonable to ask her to be a tool now. When Suyi shook her over, she was still wearing a thin silk pajamas. When she appeared on the trading platform, she stood out as rich and generous. It seemed that she was resting and didn't sleep well. As soon as she came, she supported the table with one hand and asked Suyi lazily why he came to her so late. The originally cool pajamas were exposed under her action, which was not at all defensive against Suyi. However, Suyi had something urgent to do at this moment, so he politely watched the bowl for a while and then brought up the business. By the way, he also gave Wooey a test list specially prepared by Shai and Shu according to the characteristics of the trading platform. As a 7th level magic and martial arts master, Wooey rarely slept. After finally getting a good night's sleep, she was woken up by Suyi. Before she had enough sleep, she thought something big was going to happen again. That's the result. As a real princess, Wooey is really a princess. If someone else disturbed her sweet dreams for such a small matter, she would have to find a place to hang him. It happened that Suyi did this. What can she do? Can the top brother on the list be offended? Even if she was impatient, she could only complain a few words at this moment, and then cooperate with Suyi with a look of disgust. To use the mechanism of the trading platform to test whether this power armor is safe. As a result, after testing it for more than half an hour, Suyi found that this thing actually had no problems at all. During this period, he not only tested whether there were any secret doors in technology that would secretly use some technology to control the person wearing the power armor and turn the person into a puppet, but also tested very rigorously whether there were any metaphysical means left in the power armor. Fearing that Xinghan had not cleaned up the stuff inside and caused some residue point in addition to these basic safety issues, many aspects of the combat effectiveness of the power armor itself were also tested. All the results proved that this thing not only had no problems at all, but also had no combat power loss due to the AI module error after the metaphysical means inside were cleared. In other words, this Destiny level power armor is now a 100% safe and powerful piece of equipment. The most advanced power armor of the Interstellar Alliance, after wearing it, has the power to match, or even beat the 7th level warriors in the magic world. Suyi was naturally very happy, and Wei Wei, who cooperated with him to do these things, was completely dumbfounded. Crossing Hen was surprised that an external equipment could give ordinary people such a level of combat power. After all, she was a demigod, and this power was not a threat to her at all. Yuling also didn't care much about a power armor that could give ordinary people the combat power of a 7th level warrior, because she was 8th level, and she practiced both magic and martial arts, and her combat power was off the charts. Such armor was not really a big threat to her. She had 10,000 ways to deal with this kind of thing. Not to mention that this was Suyi's new equipment. She would only be happy for Suyi. But Wei Wei was different. Because she was really 7th level. Defense broken. After hearing that this thing can almost beat the 7th level warriors, Wei Wei was not convinced at all. You mean, as long as you wear this thing, if I don't use magic and some magic equipment, I may not be able to beat you. Although, I don't know where you got that I meant, but since you understand it this way, then, it should be true. Suyi rubbed his chin and said tentatively, do you want to try it? Go back and change into a set of armor. Change armor? Haha, do I need to change armor to beat you? Wei Wei, who has always maintained aristocratic etiquette and is elegant and decent, blushed for the first time. A clear rose blush appeared on her white face. Don't talk nonsense. There is an arena on the trading platform. You put this thing on. Let's try it. As she said that, she applied for the arena challenge. When the arena appeared, she went on the arena in her thin nightgown and waved to Suyi provocatively. Out. Although he was unsure, he obviously couldn't be timid in this situation. Anyway, it was confirmed that this thing had no safety hazards, and he just wanted to try it out to see if it was useful. The arena built by the trading platform for both parties to test the weapons was also safe enough. Wei Wei, according to Xinghan, as a 7th level magic and martial arts practitioner, she was an evenly matched opponent without using magic. And the arena of this trading platform needs to be opened with points, 20 points at a time. Corresponding to the payment is the service provided by the arena, which not only ensures the safety of both parties, but also can automatically repair damaged equipment, and there is no need to worry about breaking this thing. It is more suitable than testing this power armor outside. A fierce battle is about to break out. And after the real fight, Suyi found that Xinghan's estimate was definitely conservative. After wearing this power armor, the 7th level warrior was no match for him. Even though he couldn't even see Wei Wei's movements clearly, the AI that assisted in controlling the power armor could always predict the enemy's moves, allowing Suyi, a rookie who had only fought a few times, to show his extraordinary fighting talent in the sparring with Wei Wei. Wei Wei fought for a long time, but only touched him 2 or 3 times, and couldn't break his defense at all. The most dangerous time was when Wei Wei attacked. Even the AI could not control the power armor to avoid it completely, and could only take a heavy punch on the chest. In the end, Suyi was fine except for taking a few steps back. The power armor prompt light screen in front of him showed, hit, the outer armor is slightly worn. Well, this is the first time he has seen this prompt. The other attacks could not even trigger the prompt of armor wear. Suyi didn't know whether Wei Wei, this useless thing, was thinking about her grand plan and practicing every day. In addition to her impressive cultivation, her combat effectiveness was very poor, or the defense of this armor is really too awesome. However, seeing that she was getting more and more angry, Suyi felt that the former reason might be more likely. After all, she is a princess. Although she has no shortage of cultivation resources, she actually has little practical experience. The title of Dragon Slayer was just a scam. When Mengchuan City was besieged before, she always came to trade in a suit of armor and covered in blood, which looked very intimidating. In fact, it was definitely not caused by fighting with people of the same level. It was definitely the result of leading the charge and killing the small fish in order to boost the morale of the army when defending the city. At that time, Suyi didn't understand and was really intimidated by her. Now that they have really fought, they realize that this princess with a long list of titles seemed to have a bit of weak fighting power and might even be worse than the same level in the magic world. Because even if Singhan's estimate has errors, it is impossible that the error is so large that even a 7th level warrior can't break the defense. Chapter 315. The result after the fight was beyond Weewa's expectations. Even Suyi himself didn't expect it. For a moment, he couldn't be sure whether this power armor was too strong or Weewa's fighting ability was too weak. In short, after he was almost familiar with the battle rhythm of the power armor and no longer relied on the automatic operation of the power armor AI, he completely took the initiative on the ring, and Weewa didn't even have many chances to fight back. Finally, in a wave of collisions, her silk pajamas, which looked expensive at first glance, were directly torn in half. Because of the fierce battle. Weewa immediately jumped off the ring and announced a draw, saying that it was too inconvenient to continue fighting like this, and she also showed Suyabe her peerless good figure, so she must not fight anymore, and she would change into stronger clothes next time. Then she ran away from the trading platform with a guilty conscience. At the moment when the pajamas were torn, Suyi basically saw everything he should and shouldn't see. Weewa didn't know whether it was because she had taken the initiative to ask him for a marriage alliance or for some other reason. When she realized that her clothes were torn and Suyi was looking at her, she didn't seem to be embarrassed and even puffed out her chest a little proudly. She didn't even make a move to cover up. Not to mention being embarrassed. With her attitude, Suyi suspected that even if she was naked, it would not affect her combat effectiveness in front of him. Because from Weewa's perspective, marrying Suyi was an inevitable fact. Under this premise, it was naturally insignificant to let people see a few times, so the case was solved. What about the wrong clothes? She would fight again next time. It was just that she realized that she might not be able to beat Suyi wearing this power armor, so she found an excuse to run away temporarily. Suyi originally wanted to give Weewa a try on the Yanyu sect skills that were only suitable for women from Linyaran. Seeing that she ran away, he had to wait until next time. After Weewa left, he carefully looked at the armor on his body. First of all, it is definitely handsome. And it is handsome in all angles. As for what technology is used on it, not to mention him, even Bailu probably doesn't know. This thing is a limited product in the Interstellar Alliance. Only the captain of the Interstellar Alliance military and higher level officers are eligible to have a set of rations. Bailu estimated that after the training is completed and the starship is received, he will also get a set. However, the wearing and storage methods of this thing are completely different from those power armors before. Instead, it is more like the nano armor that Suyi has seen in the movie before. When it is unfolded, it quickly covers the whole body like water. If you want to put it away, you only need a thought, and it will all condense and become a decoration like a watch or a pair of glasses. Or it can also become some clothes, and if it becomes clothes, it looks like real cloth woven clothes, without any metal texture, which is completely different from the hard armor covering the whole body in combat mode. If it weren't for the fact that the trading platform now considers this thing to be a pure technological product, Suyi would have almost thought it was some kind of magic or magic weapon from the world of immortal cultivation. It is indeed a bit too magical. And the magic is not just in appearance. In actual combat, some of the performances of this thing can even be said to be completely inconsistent with the laws of physics. For example, those ordinary power armors, even if the armor can withstand the impact after being hit, will also have obvious force unloading actions in order to protect the occupants inside. There are also a large number of devices for unloading force inside the armor. Therefore, the power armors that Bailu traded to Suyi before were relatively large. The medium-sized power armor was more than 2 meters high. If it was a conventional heavy-duty power armor, it would be at least 3 meters high. At this point, it is difficult to say whether this is a power armor or a mecha in a science fiction movie. The reason why it is built so big is to unload force when it is hit. As for the technology of the Interstellar Alliance, they have no shortage of materials that can withstand high-intensity attacks, but even if the outer shell is strong, the force of the attack will inevitably be transmitted to the inside. The meat inside the iron wrap meat is not as strong as iron. So, in order to protect the crew, the mecha must be enlarged, and the thickness of the external armor must be increased without reducing the crew compartment. Of course, the increase is not only the thickness of the armor alloy itself, but also the extremely complex internal unloading structure. Even so, it is difficult for power armor to withstand attacks that can achieve the highest theoretical defense strength. For example, if the front armor of a power armor can theoretically withstand a frontal attack from a 155 howitzer, then the actual situation is that if this power armor is really hit by a 155 howitzer on the battlefield, it will be 100% paralyzed immediately. This is not a false mark, but the front armor can really withstand the attack of the 155 howitzer without being damaged, but the crew inside cannot withstand the indirect force. Taking a large caliber artillery shell head on. The final result is that the power armor itself is fine, but the driver is turned into a pile of meat paste. This is the limitation of the real defense of the power armor in dealing with the problem of unloading force. And it is also the reason why the stronger the defense of a conventional power armor, the larger it is. But this Destiny level power armor is obviously different. This thing is also a set of close-fitting armor in combat mode, very light, and does not have the heavy feeling of heavy power armor at all. But its defense is frighteningly high. As a 7th level warrior, even if she lacks practical experience and her combat power is weak, her own values cannot be false. The power of a punch is definitely more than the impact of a 155 howitzer, but when facing this level of attack, Suyi, who was wearing the Sky Punishment level power armor, could not feel any impact at all. Only when he was hit in some weaker defense parts occasionally, the AI of the power armor would prompt that the armor was slightly worn. From beginning to end, as a driver, he could not feel any force unloading device running inside the armor, let alone any force unloading action. We punched him, and he took it directly without any problem. It is actually very exaggerated to achieve this level without understanding its principle. It is not an exaggeration to say that this violates the laws of physics. Based on naked eye observation. This is the biggest difference between this power armor and other ordinary power armor. Suyi estimated that this thing is definitely the most advanced technology in the Interstellar Alliance. It can't be described by just the word awesome. Chapter 316. After trying the power armor, he went back. After confirming that this thing can be used and there is no risk, his combat effectiveness has been greatly improved in the short term. As for the longer term strength improvement, it depends on practice. Before, he tried to practice the martial arts and magic of the magic world, but he didn't last long. It's not that he is lazy or can't bear hardships, but he always feels that these things are not worth practicing, and he has time. He can wait until he matches with a world with more advanced cultivation methods in the future and obtains more advanced cultivation methods before improving his strength. Facts have proved that his judgment at the time was really correct. Now, not only has he matched with the Qingshan realm, a metaphysical world whose cultivation system is many times more complete and developed than the magic world, but he has also obtained the Golden Crow book, which is considered a very advanced technique in the Qingshan realm. Naturally, he will also try to start practicing. After all, which boy has not had the dream of cultivating immortals by flying in the sky, looking up at the North Sea, and looking at Kangwoo in the evening? In comparison, those so-called magics are much less attractive to him. But before that, he still had something to deal with, which was also a preparation for his own cultivation. That was to give Yuling and Crossing Hen another book of exercises that was only suitable for women to practice, the ancient scroll of the moon, which he got from Linear. And these two were absolute geniuses in the magic world. By handing them a method that pointed to a new path of cultivation, Suyi felt that they should be able to figure out the Qingshan realm's cultivation system faster than he did. After they accumulated some experience, he could also avoid some detours. This was not because he was self-deprecating, but because he had a clear understanding of himself. He had practiced those things in the magic world before. The reason for giving up was not only because he was not very interested in magic, but also because his progress in practicing this thing, it can't be said to be very slow. According to Yuling, the speed is actually not bad, better than most ordinary people in the magic world. Well, this is a high-X statement. In other words, with his level, even if he could practice magic or martial arts in the magic world, he would be just a passerby. If he wanted to practice something famous, he didn't even think about it. He read for a long time and still couldn't understand what was said in the so-called magic cultivation secrets in the magic world. He always felt that this thing was very confusing. Even if Yuling hadn't read it, she basically understood what it meant at a glance. In Suyi's opinion, this was the difference between talent and understanding. Yuling was like this, not to mention the super genius crossing hen who became a demigod in his teens. Although Lin Yiren said that he was very suitable for practicing the technique called the Golden Crow Book, and he often said that he wanted to practice with him, he didn't think there was a big problem after receiving the technique, but before he tried it, he still had no idea. Since there are two such geniuses around, it is obviously a better way to let them try first and guide themselves after they understand it. After returning to the starship, because the problem of the destiny level power armor that occupied the captain's room before has been solved, the captain's room is naturally empty. As an interstellar regime with abundant materials, the Interstellar Alliance does not advocate any hardship and simplicity. Ordinary crew members on the starship have separate dormitories, which are very complete in terms of decoration and various equipment. The captain's room is even worse. Rather than calling it a captain's room, it is more appropriate to call it a large flat with a starry sky view. After Suyi took the Destiny class power armor to the trading platform to verify the safety of this thing, only Xinghan and Yuling were left in the captain's room. As one of the closest people around him, Yuling and Xinghan were granted the permission of the captain's spouse by Suyi. They can enter the captain's room freely. When he came back, the two had simply tidied up the captain's room. Of course, to say tidied up, in fact, it was to add some decorations to this luxurious big house and add some life atmosphere. There was almost no shortage of the remaining things needed for life, and they were all high-end goods from the Interstellar Alliance. The design was very user-friendly and much more convenient than the various home products on Blue Star. This whole thing has some home atmosphere. Looking at the two ornamental green plants from the magic world that Yuling placed in front of the floor-to-ceiling window facing the starry sky, Suyi sighed. Yuling smiled when she heard this. I just think that, although there are all kinds of things in this captain's room, it is a bit too cold. It may be a bit depressing if you stay here for a long time. I asked Shan Zuan about these decorative items and plants and put them here. Just like them. You put all these things in the space ring and carry them with you? Suyi was a little surprised. At this moment, the starship is on the way back to Blue Star from the moon. Yuling is also on the ship for the first time, so it is naturally impossible to go back to Blue Star to prepare. It's not that I always carry it with me. Didn't you say before that there is a very good captain's room on the starship, but it is temporarily uninhabitable because of the destiny level power armor? Are you going to solve this problem this time? I thought that if I plan to live here after solving it, I must decorate it, so I prepared it in advance. Anyway, if I put it in the space ring, even if I don't use it, I just need to go to the warehouse and put it back. Yuling smiled. You are so considerate. Suyi stroked her face, then looked around and said, where's Xinghan? Didn't I just say I wanted to show you something? I happen to be free at the moment, so I can show it to you. No, it's over there. Yuling pursed her lips toward the huge floor-to-ceiling window of the captain's room. Suyi turned around and saw Xinghan sitting at the window of the captain's room. Outside, there is a tour cabin in the captain's cabin. After putting on the spacesuit, you can go directly to the outside of the starship through the tour cabin and experience the feeling of being in the universe. Yuling shrugged. Didn't you give her permission to be the captain's spouse? At her request, Chiang Suan allowed her to go out without wearing any protective clothing. I've Been out for more than half an hour, and I still have no intention of coming back. I guess there may be some unexpected gains outside. What can be gained from this vast starry sky? Magic. More magic than I've ever felt. Zinghan's figure outside the window slowly disappeared, and the next moment he reappeared in the captain's room. He took a long breath and said solemnly, if the magic power of Blue Star is far more abundant than that of the magic world, at least 10 times and 100 times that of the magic world, then it is not an exaggeration to say that the magic power in this starry sky environment is so rich that it is unimaginable, at least for the magic world. Hundreds of thousands times, millions of times. It is no exaggeration to say that practicing in this environment for one day is probably comparable to practicing in the so-called holy places of cultivation in the magical world for 10 years. Chapter 317. I'm not sure whether this is because the world where Blue Star is located is special, or because the starry sky is more magical than the ground, which is common to all worlds. Zinghan said solemnly, if it is the latter, then my previous speculations are probably not speculations. There may really be an extremely powerful existence in the magic world that controls the development of the world and cuts off the starry sky environment with extremely rich magic, because in the magic world, even gods are not qualified to experience what the environment in the starry sky is like. When she said this, Suyi remembered some of her speculations before, and said that the person who did this might have the same personality as him. The purpose is to ensure that he is the most powerful force in the current world, and for this reason he does not hesitate to cut off the way for those who come later at that time. Suyi thought that this woman was cursing him in a roundabout way. I didn't expect that there might be such a thing in the magic world. And if there is such a person, then his purpose is obviously easy to understand, as mentioned before. In addition, the concentration of magic in the starry sky is much higher than that on the ground, so this speculation is more reasonable. Under this premise, when a metaphysical civilization develops to a certain extent, the powerful individuals in it will inevitably seek a place more suitable for cultivation. After exploring the ground and finding that there is no more suitable environment for them to enter a higher realm, they will naturally turn their attention to the sky point. When they reach the starry sky, they will find that the magic here is much richer than the surface, which is more suitable for cultivation. Practitioners who have reached the level of cultivation to be able to go to the starry sky will naturally not be afraid of the harsh environment in the starry sky. In the long run, after hundreds of thousands of years of nourishment in the favorable environment, the magic world should not have been raging on a wrong cultivation path for hundreds of thousands of years. Even some geniuses clearly realized that this way of cultivation was wrong, and they could not find a way to break the deadlock point, because when the starry sky was blocked, the upper limit of cultivation in this world had been locked. The metaphysical side is different from the technological side. Most of the time, the technological side needs to develop the technology tree step by step, from theory to practice, in an orderly manner. Even in the Blue Star, which previously focused on the technology side, a genius would occasionally emerge, suddenly discover something completely outside the existing technology tree, such as the mass energy conversion equation, and develop another set of theories. It is very reasonable for a super genius to appear on the metaphysical side, find a brand new path, and then reversely infer from it, and then feed back to low-level practitioners, and then improve, or open up a brand new cultivation system. It should even be the daily routine of the metaphysical side. After all, the development methods of the two civilizations are completely different. The technology side focuses on the whole, while the metaphysical side focuses on the individual. But this is a possibility that will only appear when there is no external interference and the world has not yet developed to the upper limit. The situation in the magic world is obviously very special. If it is limited to the surface, cultivating to the level of demigod, or the so-called magic god and martial god, it has reached a bottleneck, and it is essentially a wrong path. If you want to find the right cultivation path or open up a brand new system, you must have a more favorable cultivation environment to support it. According to the current situation of Blue Star, this cultivation environment is obviously the starry sky. But even gods in the magic world cannot enter the starry sky point even Yuling, and Crossing Hen said that most of the god's fall recorded in the history of the magic world are related to the starry sky point when the place where the development opportunities are located becomes a forbidden area, and the environment itself is not enough to make changes and open up new paths. Even the surface development of the magic world is likely to be interfered by the mastermind behind the scenes, so it is easy to understand that it has been rushing on the wrong road for hundreds of thousands of years on the blue star. The invisible big hand is an abstract metaphor, but in the magic world, an invisible big hand covers the entire world, cutting off the development limit and future of this world. This is most likely not a metaphor, but a real existence point. Before Crossing Hen made a guess, based on some records and documents. After coming to the blue star, he knew that the blue star people could go to the starry sky at will, and the cultivation environment in the starry sky was so superior, far stronger than the surface. After that, this guess is not just a guess. I am now at least 80% sure that there is an extremely ancient existence in the magic world that has cut off the road to the starry sky in some way and locked the upper limit of the world. Speaking of this, Xinghan sighed. If I hadn't come to Blue Star, I probably wouldn't have had the slightest chance to break through the shackles until I died. Wait a minute. Suyi originally thought that she was going to lament about the evil of human hearts, but Xinghan suddenly said this, which really made Suyi confused, and asked hurriedly, "What do you mean by this? Could it be that you have now found a way to break through the 3-year life limit and reach a higher realm?" Damn, he traded with Lin Yiran this time, and specially prepared some good things for Xinghan. Just to see this 3-no-girl demigod who seemed to be indifferent to everything was surprised when she saw him take out the disaster avoidance pill and the serious practice method point as a result. He hasn't even taken out the things yet, and Xinghan has already found a way to solve the dilemma. Wouldn't that make his operation seem redundant? That's not the case. Xinghan shrugged. I still don't know the reason why my lifespan has been greatly reduced due to practicing my route. And even if the cultivation environment here at Blue Star is so good, it's hard to say whether the cause can be found and solved within 3 years. But one thing is certain, that is, if you are in the magical world, there will definitely be no hope. But here at Blue Star, even if there are only 3 years left, there is still a little bit of hope. If you have hope, you can give it a try. Speaking of which, I really have to thank you for this. Hearing her saying that she only had a little hope, Suyi breathed a sigh of relief and immediately waved his hand. Don't be in a hurry to thank me. You'll have a lot to thank later. As he spoke, he took out the small porcelain bottle. Try eating one. Xinghan took the porcelain bottle doubtfully, shook it tentatively, and curiously said after hearing the sound inside, "What kind of medicine is this?" "This is not medicine. I'm telling you, this stuff is an elixir. You'll know after you take one." Suyi followed the instructions, just like the weird uncle who kidnapped the little girl. Xinghan's expression gradually became weird after hearing this. He looked at Suyi and then at Yuling beside him. After holding it in for a long time, he still couldn't help but said, "Actually, if you want to do something, you can just say it. There is no need to drug me. This thing is of no use to me." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318. Yi was immediately confused by this sudden statement. No, your grandma, who is more than 100 years old, although she looks like a 28-year-old girl, is indeed still charming. But who is she? Suyi. Could he be this kind of lustful ghost? This is purely slander. However, before Suyi could explain what kind of medicine it was, Xinghan was confused, so he still poured one out and ate it. Soon her delicate brows wrinkled, and then she looked at Suyi with a sharp look. What kind of medicine is this? Disaster. Avoidance pill. Disaster. Avoidance pill. A pill from a more advanced world of cultivating immortals on the metaphysical side. Its function is to help monks avoid disasters. The effect of the medicine lasts for about 3 to 5 years. What do you think of the effect after taking it? Yi said a little curiously. The effect? Xinghan carefully felt his own changes and muttered, "The effect can be said to be very good, and it even gives me the feeling of prying off the heavy shackles on my body. But I can also feel that this loosening of the shackles is only temporary and cannot be maintained for a long time. Probably. It can only last about 4 years, less than 5 years. That's no problem. The duration of the effect of the disaster avoiding pill is 3 to 5 years, which can be said to be a long span. The duration of the drug's effect actually varies from person to person and is determined by the person taking the drug's cultivation, talent, degree of absorption of the drug, etc. It is difficult to specify how many years it will last for someone, so it is generally divided into 3 to 5 years, that is, the lowest duration and the longest duration. After all, Qingshan realm is a world of cultivating immortals, not a world of technology. There is no need to take a pill like in the technological world, record all the differences among different groups of people, and then quantify and organize them into complete data. These are all very subjective things, and this is in line with the core values of cultivating immortality. So, you have matched to a very advanced metaphysical world. Xinghan looked at Suyi with burning eyes. I know what you want, which is nothing more than a more advanced and perfect cultivation method in the world of immortality. I did get this thing. Suyi shrugged. And what's the price? If Yuling needs this, of course he can give it directly. After all, this is his own person, so there is no need to discuss matters of benefit or disinterest. Xinghan is still a little different. The relationship between the two parties can only be regarded as relatively close partners. Even the trading platform contract she signed when she came to Blue Star was very free. Whenever she wanted to return to the magical world, Suyi didn't. The rights were blocked, and membership points were also drawn to buy her a life transaction permission card point. Since it is a relatively equal partnership, the brothers have to settle the score clearly. This score naturally has to be settled clearly. He is not the wronged one, and good things cannot be given to him without reason. This is a more advanced and perfect method of cultivating immortals from the Qingshan realm. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the dream of all the gods who know the truth in the entire magical world. To put it harshly, Suyi went to the magical world to tell the gods that he had a correct path of cultivation here, which would give them a chance to break through their current shackles and push their cultivation to a higher level. The price was that these gods needed to be his disciples. Dogs that are tens of thousands of years old. It is estimated that a lot of gods will come to him to beg him to put a leash on his dog. It seems easy for Suyi to obtain these cultivation methods, but the chance of them is too high. Just to be able to match Lin Yiren, a trading partner who has a high status in the Qingshan world, a higher level of cultivation, and can bring out good things, the probability is already so small that it can be ignored. The probability that Lin Yiren would be interested in exchanging the Tao Te Ching, Nanhua Jing and Yi Jing, the 3 mysteries of ancient Kyushu, was on hand was even smaller. The premise of all this is that he must be a member of the trading platform, otherwise even the most unlucky person will not be able to touch this threshold that connects different worlds to exchange what they have. Those things that the gods have been pursuing for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, but cannot get, can only be obtained easily by people like Suyi who have a trading platform and are extremely lucky. Just because he had it so easily, he could not ignore the value of these precious cultivation techniques. The price. Xinghan pondered for a moment and said, "What do you want?" "Anything is okay, as long as I can do it. Anything is possible." Xinghan's answer was almost without any hesitation. She had seen the pinnacle of the magical world's cultivation system as early as her teenage years, and spent the rest of her life pursuing a new path. The road was now in front of her, and she was willing to pay any price for it. Even if the price is to let her see what the correct path of cultivation should be today and die tomorrow, she will not hesitate at all. If you hear the Tao in the morning, you will die in the evening. It may be difficult for ordinary people to understand this kind of mental state, but for people like Xinghan who have spent a lifetime exploring in the fog, this is not an exaggeration. The pursuit of the correct path of cultivation has almost become her obsession. If you are not afraid of death, then what else is there to be afraid of? Suyi nodded after hearing this, and then made his request. "I won't put forward too stringent Requirements for e-signing the contract on the trading platform. As long as it is the same as the contract signed by Yuling, this kind of contract is essentially the last layer of protection. As long as you don't have other thoughts, nothing will happen. You have seen Yuling's situation here for so long. Although I'm not a good man, I have never treated her harshly, and I have never used the contract of the trading platform to restrict her from doing anything. In fact, the contract he signed with Yuling is the most demanding contract he has signed so far. The content in it almost covers all of Yuling's behaviors. After coming to Blue Star and the corresponding price she needs to pay, Suyi has a very high right to deal with Yuling. It's up to Suyi to let her live or die. Suyi can even contact the trading platform with a thought and use the power of the trading platform contract to limit all of Yuling's strength and make her an ordinary person. The only thing that can be considered loose is that if Yuling thinks it is unfair, she can ask Suyi to contact Wei to send her back. But if Wei refuses, she will have no means of counterattack. It is no exaggeration to say that this is a completely unequal contract. This was also unavoidable. At that time, Suyi's strength and power were very weak, and he was extremely wary of such individuals with powerful power. These were necessary procedures afterwards. He got along very happily with Yuling, and the contract was almost forgotten. He never used it. Now, as long as Xinghan signed the same contract as Yuling, she would be 100% his own person under the control of everything. For his own people, there was naturally no need to negotiate the price. It was no big deal to give it to her directly. Even if there were any problems in the subsequent cultivation, Suyi would find Lin Yiren to help her solve it. Chapter 319. That's all. Xinghan not only did not refuse, but was relieved. After coming to Blue Star for so long, she knew very well what kind of status Yuling had around Suyi, and what kind of treatment she received on weekdays. If the harsh contract signed by Yuling was called a slave contract, then this person who was supposed to be a slave would now become the actual boss lady of Xianyu Group. With such a good example, there was nothing to hesitate about. She saw clearly that the reason why Yuling had such a status now was not only because of her close relationship with Suyi, but also because she really had no ambition. As the princess of the fallen elf kingdom, she did not even have the thought of revenge to regain the throne. She followed Suyi every day and played the role of a virtuous wife. Xinghan did not expect Suyi to treat her like Yuling, but she did not have any messy ambitions. Based on her understanding of Suyi, as long as she doesn't show any excessive ambitions and doesn't make trouble for no reason, Suyi will definitely not use the power of the contract to mess with her, of course, except for one aspect. She thinks this guy seems to be quite lustful. I heard that Yuling was humiliated not long after she came to Blue Star. Well, compared with a more perfect way of cultivation, this kind of thing is actually a trivial matter for Xinghan. It is within her acceptance range. Besides, she herself has a good sense of Suyi. Suyi hasn't taken out such a thing for hundreds of years. If he really makes such a request, Xinghan feels that he will not refuse. At that time, the mentality was that without the disaster avoidance pill and the correct cultivation system, she would probably not live for a few years, so it would be better to experience something she has never experienced before she dies, not to mention now. So, you agree? Suyi was a little surprised that she agreed so quickly. After all, this kind of strong person, logically speaking, shouldn't he be up a capital long ocean, saying that my life is in my own hands, not in the hands of God? Not everyone has a natural talent like Yuling, but they just go with the flow and like a peaceful life. Xinghan would never agree to sign a slave contract that almost gives all his freedom to others, but in the end, Xinghan agreed without even thinking about it. If he hadn't known the capabilities of the Yi platform, let alone Xinghan, a demigod, even the gods in the magic world would be no different from ants under the contract of the trading platform. He would have thought that Xinghan had some way to circumvent the platform contract. Why not agree? Xinghan shrugged. What you have in your hand is what I have been pursuing for my whole life. In comparison, a few restrictions are completely acceptable to me. And as you said, I have seen Yuling's life now, and I can trust your character. Okay, since The other party agreed. Suyi didn't say anything more. He took Xinghan directly into the trading platform and found the toolman Weiwei again. After cancelling the previous contract and returning the star mark to Weiwei, use the trading card again and send the star mark to Blue Star through the contract, and the process is completed. It must be said that Weiwei is a political player. Although her fighting ability is weak, she is indeed thick-skinned enough. She was beaten to death in the ring just now, but now she can't see any abnormality. After changing into a luxurious dress that only the Queen of the Qiang Empire can wear, she looks cold and noble, and she doesn't show any embarrassment in front of the star mark. Until all this was done, the star mark was sent back to Blue Star, and Suyi was ready to go back. Weiwei, who had always been cold and luxurious, glared at him fiercely, as if saying, "You wait for me," and then snorted and went offline. Okay. We have almost finished dealing with our affairs, and it's time to give you the things. As soon as he returned to Blue Star, Suyi gave Weiwei the jade slip containing the secret Tei, an ancient scroll of Yanyu sect, in the captain's room of the starship. After this thing is traded, there is no restriction on who can use it, but each time it is used, it will consume the spiritual power in the jade slip. This thing is like a mobile phone battery. After the spiritual power is consumed, the jade slip will be useless according to Lin Yiren. This jade slip can be used about 10 times. After passing it to Xinghan, it can be used to pass it to Yuling. It can even be used to practice with Yang Yi. Later, looking at the jade slip handed over by Suyi, Xinghan, the demigod, was actually a little absent-minded for a while. There is no way the thing that you can't get appears in front of you in such a relaxed and absurd way. It is difficult for anyone to calm down. After taking a few deep breaths, Xinghan took the jade slip with both hands with a solemn expression. "Just stick it on your forehead and you can use it." So Yi reminded, "At present, this is the only method I have collected that is suitable for women to practice. According to my trading partner, this is the secret of their sect. This has been certified by the trading platform and should be true. So apart from this method, it should be very difficult to find a more advanced method suitable for you to practice in the future. In addition, I heard from Lin Yiren that, although this technique is advanced enough, it has certain side effects. You should be cautious and make sure you can accept these side effects before practicing. If you can't accept it, it's better not to practice it. In this case, it's better to practice some ordinary techniques. I don't know what the specific side effects are. You can take a look first. If you really can't accept it, I will ask Lin Yiren to find some other techniques for you to use next time I trade with her. It may not be as advanced as this one, but with her status, she shouldn't fool me with a bad technique. Okay." Xinghan nodded immediately after hearing this, and then obediently put the jade slip on his forehead. The next moment, the jade slip glowed with a trace of spiritual light and slowly merged into her smooth forehead. After a moment, Xinghan slowly put down the jade slip. When he opened his eyes again, there seemed to be a flash of light in his eyes, and then he smiled bitterly. "So that's why, no matter how hard we demigods and gods have tried, we can't find a new way for so many years, and can only waste our time on this dead end. If you take the wrong first step, how can you get a glimpse of the real road later?" Chapter 320. Compared with the Qingshan world, where one first exercises the body and then introduces ki into the body, the magical world's cultivation method of developing martial arts and magic together, or choosing one of them to go to the dark side, is completely wrong from the beginning. Others train their two legs first, master them thoroughly, and then walk. After they have mastered them. Only those in the Qingshan realm, who are in the foundation building stage, can be regarded as a monk who has entered the sect. Those below the foundation building stage are just mortals, but the magical world is unwilling. In the magical world, there is either only one leg, or both legs are trained together and then stunted together. The demigods in the magical world are equivalent to the foundation building stage of Qingshan realm, but compared with the serious monks in the foundation building stage, these demigods are equivalent to cripples born with disabilities. A tall building rises from the ground without laying a good foundation. How can you see the scenery from high places? But in the magical world, you have to practice to the level of a demigod or a god before you realize that there is something wrong with what you are practicing. But the real problem occurs in the early stages of cultivation. At that time, no one among the practitioners knew that they were embarking on a cultivation path that was wrong from the beginning point. People who know the problem cannot go to an environment with more abundant spiritual power in the starry sky, so they use a better cultivation environment to discover the problem point. So there is a paradox here. People who know there is a problem have already stepped on the pitfalls, and they are completely unaware of where they stepped on the pitfalls. People who have the opportunity to discover a pit simply don't know there is a problem and just step right into the pit. There are also ruthless people like Xinghan who know the problem and are willing to give up their previous cultivation and practice again. But even if they rebuilt it again, they just changed the soup without changing the medicine and still did not get out of the original pit. And because of the lack of a training environment with sufficient spiritual power, after recultivating, it is impossible to be sure whether the path he chose to recultivate is the right one. If you don't know where you went wrong, you won't have any room for improvement. As a result, the entire magical world fell into an endless loop on the road of cultivation, and almost no one had a chance to break it if it hadn't been for the emergence of the trading platform. And if we, an agent of the trading platform, appeared in the magic world and successfully became your partner, I'm afraid we, the frogs in the well who claim to be demigods and gods, would have had a hard time breaking through in this life. That cage that was created behind the scenes, Xinghan sighed. Didn't you always say that you were speculating about the existence of such a person? Why are you so sure now? Su Yi was a little curious when he heard this, because if you follow the normal logic and order, without any guidance, and let yourself explore and practice, the normal metaphysical world should be carried out according to the practice method you gave in the Qingshan realm. There may be something in the middle. You took the wrong path, but you will eventually get back on track, Xinghan said with a bitter smile. The way in our magical world, where one can learn magic without exercising and achieve the effect of introducing ki into the body to become a magician, is simply not in line with common sense. It cannot be a path that appears through natural development. It can only be the result of powerful people. The evil ways deliberately created by the monks will lead everyone astray. The existence behind the scenes not only limits everyone's upper limit, but also limits the ability of those practitioners in the magic world to correct mistakes after they have practiced to the extreme. It even leads everyone in the wrong direction from the beginning. The superposition of many means only then will the current situation in the magical world appear. As for the purpose and motivation of this person behind the scenes, it is actually not difficult to guess this is his purpose: to restrict all practitioners in the world and keep himself the most powerful existence in the world. For the sake of one's own selfishness, one would rather bring the development of the entire world to a standstill. Although this kind of behavior is crazy, it is not something that is difficult for people to do. Not to mention, the last feudal dynasty in Kaishu would rather lose the war and cede territory and pay compensation for its own selfish interests than introduce advanced technology and ideas. In fact, it's the same thing. What's more, for the person who controls everything behind the scenes in the magical world, he has no external threats. As long as you are the boss of 1/3 of an acre of land, you can keep the creatures in this world captive. And the most terrifying thing is that he not only restricted everyone's cultivation path, but also used some unknown method to allow the practitioners in the magical world to have a lifespan that far exceeds normal cultivation, Xinghan said in a deep voice. In comparison, monks in the Qingshan realm's body training and ki training realms can only live 200 to 300 years at most. Foundation building phase monks only have a lifespan of 500 years, and golden elixir phase monks only have a lifespan of 1000 years. The combat power of the demigods in the magic world is far inferior to that of the monks in the foundation building stage, and their lifespans are tens of thousands or even tens of thousands of years. The so-called gods, who are far inferior to the monks in the golden elixir stage, have lifespans of hundreds of thousands of years, almost endless. With the blessing of a huge amount of lifespan, these beings can become demigods and gods, and are amazingly talented. Without the pressure of lifespan, and being able to live for a long time at will, many cultivators naturally do not continue. The motivation to make progress will only be to settle for the status quo. While he dug a trap for cultivators all over the world, he also gave those geniuses a long life. They lost their enterprising spirit and became content with the status quo. Well, is it possible that, because of the different cultivation systems, the demigods and magicians in your world should have such a long lifespan? Suyi asked tentatively. Impossible. Xinghan shook his head. This is completely unrealistic, because the lifespan gap between demigods and those below demigods is really too big. Human 9th level warriors can only live for 300 to 500 years. This is due to the emergence of elves and other immortal species in the past hundreds of thousands of years, and their integration with humans. Human beings have some immortal species blood. According to ancient records, in 100,000 years ago, the lifespan of a 9th level warrior was usually less than 200 years, which was almost the same as the lifespan of monk in the Qingshan realm, and once you become a demigod, you will instantly gain a lifespan of more than 10,000 years. This is unreasonable in itself. According to some sayings on your world's internet, cultivation itself is a way for spiritual power to change oneself, and everything should have a process. And the breakthrough from the 9th level to the demigod is obviously too abrupt, as if it was obtained out of thin air. The lifespan is the same. With this combination of punches, it's no wonder that in the magical world over the years, countless amazing and talented beings have either ended up in depression or have to settle for the status quo. Xinghan couldn't help but sigh. The person behind all this is really terrible. Chapter 321. Let go of all the bad things in your world. How do you feel now, Su? Yi couldn't help but ask. You don't care who is behind it, how it controls the whole world. It has nothing to do with you now. If someone really has this ability, you can't do it right now. The most urgent thing is to take care of yourself. Now that you are mine, it is only right to let yourself live a few more years. Xinghan was not angry when he heard this. He just chuckled and said, if I were in the magical world, with my current situation, the possibility of successfully breaking through the situation, eliminating the disaster, and embarking on the correct path of cultivation would only be 1 in a billion, or even impossible, because of my current situation. According to the Qingshan realm, I have encountered the 5 declines of heaven and humans. You should also know what this means. This kind of disaster, if you don't rely on yourself in the Qingshan realm, it will have to be at least the head AO stage. Only with the help of the powerful ones above can we survive the disaster. The way up in the magical world has been blocked, and I can't find the right direction at all. It's almost impossible on my own. And the man behind the scenes, who controls our world, not to mention whether he is willing to save if he had the strength of the head AO stage, he wouldn't need to use so many means to interfere with the normal development of the entire world's cultivation system. With the resources of the entire magical world, it would be difficult to develop it for another few million years. Find someone more powerful than him, so there's little hope in the wizarding world. After coming to Blue Star, because I left the shackles of that cage, I was able to be in an environment that was more suitable for cultivation. Without the more complete guidance you gave me this time, I would have probably been able to do just that on my own. The 1 in 10,000 chance of surviving is the flash of inspiration in my mind. Of course, to have such a high success rate, I still have to stay in Blue Star to study you occasionally. The factors of ancient books are in it. Didn't you say that the trading partner from the world of cultivating immortals was very interested in some ancient books from Kyushu, and the trading platform also judged them to be some kind of cultivation techniques? I think this is very likely to be true, and not a misjudgment. It's just that this kind of thing may be too profound for us ordinary people to understand yet, and now, with the complete cultivation method from another world you gave me, and with a clear direction, I'm at least 30% sure that I can succeed. If you add the disaster avoidance pill you gave me, it can extend the time by dozens more in terms of life expectancy. This probability needs to be increased. Xinghan thought for a while and said unsurely, probably, there is a 90% success rate. 90%? Suyi's brows twitched, and he said unexpectedly, linear, and said that in their world, if they encounter such a disaster, without the protection of their elders, the probability of surviving the disaster on their own is very low. Especially for a relatively unpopular disaster like yours, there are not enough predecessors. referring to experience and disaster avoidance methods. Those who can survive are all geniuses. Are you so sure that you have a 90% chance of passing this test? Who is not a genius? Xinghan looked at his bare hands and then smiled, and the training environment of Blue Star is very likely to be much better than that of Qingshan Realm. You can get a glimpse of it from these techniques. Experts look at the door, while laymen look at the excitement point in the field of cultivation. Xinghan is undoubtedly an expert. She can also get a glimpse of the leopard through the acquired skills, but the information she can obtain from it is much more than Su Yi. Since you are so confident, how long do you think it will take to solve those problems? It's hard to say. If it's fast, you might have an epiphany tomorrow. If it's slow, it might take 10, 20 years, or even never. It's normal. Xinghan looked very calm when he said this compared to when there was almost no hope before. The opportunities now are much greater, so there is nothing to complain about. Then, you should practice and try it yourself first. Lin Yaran said that later she will find cases and methods that have solved similar situations in the Qingshan world. Then I will give you a reference, and it should be able to solve it. By the way, she also said that these exercises have some side effects, and there should be instructions in the exercises. You should know this better than me, so be careful when practicing. Su Yi waved his hand and prepared to leave point, but when Xinghan heard this, he was startled for a moment and asked with a somewhat unnatural expression, "Do you know what the side effects of this Taiyan ancient scroll are?" "I don't know," Su Yi said matter-of-factly. "This is a technique that women practice. Let me see what it does." "Oh, that's good." Xinghan seemed to be relieved and then said, "I plan to try it out later. It just so happens that the environment in space is more suitable for practice, but I may have to ask you for a favor then." "What's the deal?" "You'll know later. Just wait for me in the living room of the captain's room," Xinghan said, glancing at Yuling without any trace, and then put the jade slip recording the skills into Yuling's hand. He entered a restroom and the captain's room. Yuling seemed to understand something from Xinghan's eyes, then looked at the jade slip in her hand, then turned to Su Yida. "Then you wait here, Sister Xinghan. I'll go out to find some food and come back. We can also try what it's like to eat on a starship." "Go ahead." Su Yi saw the interaction between the two women, and he instinctively felt that there must be something fishy going on. However, since the two would definitely not harm him, Su Yi did not ask any more questions. He simply found a place to sit down in front of the French window facing the starry sky point, because the starship was heading to the blue star at this moment. Sitting at this angle, he could just see the vibrant blue planet point. It made people feel relaxed and happy, and the beauty was intoxicating. Until Xinghan appeared in front of Su Yi, blocking the picture of him enjoying the scenery. But it showed him a more beautiful scenery. "What are you doing?" Looking at the spring light looming under her vacuum robe, Su Yi couldn't help swallowing his saliva. "Practice." Xinghan tried to maintain the persona of a 3-no girl, but when talking about this, her expression was still unnatural. But while talking, she still sat directly on Su Yi's lap. "Practice? Is the practice you're doing decent?" Su Yi looked at the beauty who suddenly squeezed into his arms, and for a moment he was a little confused. Just after the contract was changed, this is what happened? Use this to test the Kadas. Which Kada can withstand such a test? Because where did you get this practice? It's not decent. Xinghan leaned close to Su Yi's ear and said. It sounded like a complaint, but it was like crying. The warm breath sprayed into his ears. "Who cares? Just do it first." Chapter 322. The Taiyan ancient scroll is indeed a technique suitable for women to practice, but the conditions for practicing this technique are relatively harsh. In front of the huge floor-to-ceiling window, Xinghan curled up in Su Yi's arms and was teaching him some knowledge about cultivation. "What kind of harsh law?" Xinghan explained. "If you want to practice this technique, there are only two directions. One is to remain a virgin. This method of practice will be slower, but it is better than laying a solid foundation. Using this method to practice the Taiyan ancient scrolls, it can be regarded as the top skill in Qingshan realm. After it is cultivated, it will not be inferior to those powerful geniuses who practice truly top skills in the same realm. But the disadvantage is that the speed of cultivation is not comparable to those top level skills. It can only be regarded as stronger than the most common and lowest level skills. The other direction is the method used by most people who practice this technique, but this method, well, it is more like we did just now. Sui finally reacted. What a special Hehuan sect's technique. It would be weird if it could be serious. Well, you either have to stay a virgin forever, or you have to harvest yang to replenish yin. The former has a solid foundation, but the practice is slow. The latter is completely worthy of the speed of its first-rate skills, and even as long as the quality of the yang collected is high enough, the speed of cultivation is said to be thousands of miles a day. It's not an exaggeration. And the most important thing is that, although the foundation of a body cultivated in the latter way is not as solid as that of maintaining a virgin body, it is not much worse than practicing Taiyin in Qingshan realm. People who read ancient scrolls will almost always choose the latter. Sui suddenly realized he should have thought of it a long time ago, but there were so many things going on that he ignored it. Moreover, although the Lin Yiran whom I saw on the trading platform looked like a crazy witch, she still looked very normal in nature and did not give people a particularly slutty feeling. Her seductive movements also seemed a bit stiff and very deliberate. In addition, his understanding of the so-called Hehuan sect was essentially obtained through some entertainment works such as Blue Star's novels. He is more rigorous in his work now, so naturally he will not easily believe that the Hehuan sect is just like in the novel, with all members being witches and all they play with is color. So Sui didn't think about it at all. I didn't expect it to be so special. As for this technique, although the basics of holding it back are better than picking up yang and replenishing yin, the benefits are limited. But the speed of cultivation is one in the sky and one on the ground. Who can resist taking evil ways? And looking at Xinghan's charming look just now, Sui felt that practicing this technique would probably greatly arouse desire in people's hearts. Directly picking yang and replenishing yin can not only improve your cultivation level, but also release your desires. In comparison, holding it enforceably is not cost effective. Wait, he suddenly realized something. So, you think of me as that yang K? Is it possible that I'm going to pick someone else's food? Xinghan suddenly froze, although he chuckled before Sui could say anything. Well, forget it then. Sui thought about it and felt that it was not impossible for him to take more supplements. And doesn't he still have the Golden Crow book? When he succeeds in cultivation, he will definitely make these witches look good. Actually, you are different from others. Xinghan suddenly became serious again and explained, your physique is very similar to a Xiang physique, recorded in the Taiyin ancient scrolls. If you really want to say it, it is actually the most suitable partner for dual cultivation by monks who practice Taiyin ancient scrolls. Even if you are not practicing yet, dual cultivation with you, the benefits I can gain from now on will be huge. Once you officially enter the path of cultivation and have a certain level of cultivation, it's hard to imagine what kind of benefits I can gain from practicing with you. I think the leader of the Hehuan sect specially gave you a very powerful technique. I'm afraid she had this in mind. Even if you didn't give her anything at the time, she might teach you how to practice after seeing you, giving you the exercises. Xiang. Constitution? What kind of constitution is it specifically? It's hard to say. It's like the Golden Crow holy body mentioned in it, and it's like the Sun Yao holy body, but the details are different from the two bodies described in the Taiyin ancient scrolls. But in short, the direction is definitely right. And with your physique, you will definitely be able to practice the most powerful techniques at a rapid speed. Xinghan said with some uncertainty. I still know too little about the Qingshan realm's cultivation system. That sect master Lin probably knows what kind of physique you have. You can take the time to ask her next time. By the way, as for the skills, who do you plan to teach this Taiyin ancient scroll? Yi replied without thinking. Yuling, Yang Yi. It's just the three of you for the time being. Oh, and Wei. If she's interested, I can give her a copy, but with her pretentious look, she probably won't take it seriously. Practice. As for more, let's talk about it later. The Taiyan ancient scroll is one of the most advanced techniques he has at hand, and it is only suitable for women to practice point plus its own side effects. In fact, there is no need to hesitate about who can use it point. Even after giving it to these people, the jade slip should still be used 5, 6, 7, or 8 times, but he would definitely not give it to others casually in a short period of time point apart from anything else. If other women learn this side effect, then their men will probably suffer the same consequences. It is because Suyi has a perverted physique that he can bear it and even dare to try to let all 4 women around him practice point. Don't ask, just ask for confidence. Well, I suggest that you don't spread your golden crow book casually. These exercises are still too advanced at present. If you want to popularize cultivation in Blue Star, you might as well find that Lin Zhangzu later to trade some common or relatively low level and incomplete exercises in Qingshan realm. Xinghan hesitated when she said this because she always felt that she was the same person who controlled everything behind the scenes in the magic world and cut off the ascending channels of all creatures in the world point. But this is a problem she has to consider precisely because she is a genius in cultivation. She can better understand how exaggerated some geniuses can be point with the cultivation environment of Blue Star, plus a high level exercise. It is possible that a genius will emerge from somewhere and cultivate to a level that Suyi and Xianyu group cannot handle in a very short time point. If this person is grateful and remembers Suyi's kindness in preaching, it would be fine point. If you cross the river and turn your back on me, then only God knows what to do point. As an agent of the trading platform, Suyi is not afraid of threats from other worlds, but he must guard against threats from Blue Star. Chapter 323. It's rare that you actually tell me this on your own initiative. Didn't you previously confuse me with the mastermind in your world? So, Yi couldn't help but tease when he heard Xinghan's words. Xinghan shook his head after a moment of silence. It's just that we have different positions. In the magic world, she is a victim of oppression by the mastermind, who manipulates the world and naturally hates him to the core point. But on Blue Star, she is Suyi's person, and when considering issues, she naturally has to consider from Suyi's perspective point. Although it is a very cruel thing to cut off the evolutionary channel of the creatures in the entire world, if you look at it from the perspective of the person who did it. Is it a wrong thing? Obviously, it's not point. Not only is it not wrong, it can be said to be right and can't be more right point. This is the difference between the metaphysical side and the technological side point. The technological side needs to develop step by step. After the development of the middle and late stages, if you want to catch up with a more powerful civilization, it requires countless people in the entire civilization to go through countless years of hard work. The person who controls the overall situation can fully see it and curb it in advance point, but the metaphysical side is different. Under the premise that billions of creatures can practice, everyone is a chaotic and unpredictable individual. It is possible that a person will achieve nothing in his whole life, and it is possible that some people will only have a small achievement and will never see the scenery from a high place point. But the nature of the metaphysical side determines that once the practice is released to point out the way, there will definitely be people with extraordinary talents who can cut through the thorns and find a clear way point. There must also be people with extraordinary talents who rise so fast that you can't stop them at all point. As a person in power standing at the top, it is difficult not to consider how to deal with such a situation once it occurs. Even if you have the grace of preaching, it is definitely a greater grace than the sky in the serious world of cultivating immortals. But can you expect everyone to be grateful? Impossible point. In many cases, the greater the grace, the deeper the hatred point. That's why she suggested Suyi to do this. If he really wanted to spread the cultivation method on Blue Star, he could only spread the lowest level of cultivation method, or some incomplete cultivation methods, and he had to use the Blue Star network and Xianyu Group's AI for real-time monitoring. Once he found that someone's cultivation speed was not right, he had to forcefully curb it point. As for how to curb it, there are actually two ways. One is to kill directly, which is the simplest way point. The other is to use the trading platform to put a layer of contract shackles from the trading platform, which is almost equal to the supreme and unbreakable point. The root of all this is that it is actually difficult for people to completely trust each other point because of the contract of the trading platform, Suyi can unconditionally trust Yuling and Crossing Hen and give them these advanced cultivation methods, but obviously he will not trust anyone unconditionally. Similarly, once someone's cultivation reaches a level that can threaten Suyi and Xianyu group, will they trust that Xianyu group and Suyi will not do anything to him who breaks the balance of power? Obviously they will not believe it either. Once the chain of suspicion appears, if you want to break it, only one side can completely gain the upper hand. Now, Suyi is the one who has the upper hand, so he can completely choose to prevent this suspicion from appearing at all, and control the cultivation path of Dead Blue Star from the root point for him. This is what he should do, and it is understandable. Similarly, for the person who controls the magic world behind the scenes, the things he did have caused great harm to many practitioners in the magic world, but for him, these are what he should do. So, who is wrong? If you look at it objectively from the standpoints of both parties, you can even say that no one is wrong. Those who oppose this matter and those who do this matter all have sufficient reasons. The only mistake is that the complexity of intelligent creatures themselves leads to the inability to fully trust a strange individual. This is determined by the selfish instinct of creatures to seek good fortune and avoid danger. And it is almost an unsolvable answer. Therefore, when the positions are exchanged, even Xinghan, who has suffered greatly, inevitably has similar thoughts. She knows too well what those practitioners are like. I understand that if the magic world had not been cut off from ascending by the mastermind, and the peak of all practitioners was the so-called gods, then the master behind the scenes would have been pulled down from the altar long ago, and now he is at most a powerful man who dominates one side, and it is impossible for him to have such a supreme status and authority. Just like the dragon's lair in history will always become the next evil dragon. Many times, it is not that he is evil in himself, but that he has to be evil as his position changes in order to maintain his rule. The ruler is born with contradictions with the ruled. Even if the ruler does well and excellently, it is impossible for everyone to be grateful. The difference is that in the world of extreme technology, as long as you do well enough, you can get the support of most people. In the world of metaphysics, even if most people support you, as long as a genius appears among the small group of people who oppose you and hate you and rises rapidly, then this is a huge threat. Yes. The standpoint is different now. So, Yi looked at the starry sky and the blue planet outside the window, and for a moment he was a little emotional. Then he smiled and said, in the short term, I will not allow any cultivation techniques from the Qingshan realm to flow into the Blue Star. The Blue Star people have actually been exposed to these extraordinary powers. Yuling and Crossing Hen have demonstrated their powerful strength in public more than once before. The Jiazhou team that went to aid Mengchuan City also brought some relatively common magic and martial arts practice secrets to the Jiazhou officials when exchanging materials with Suyi's tacit consent. For this purpose, several national laboratories were specially established for research. Some people have even practiced it. However, Suyi and Jiazhou have a tacit understanding on this point. They did not explicitly tell everyone that they had mastered this way to the extraordinary, nor did they spread the skills obtained from the other world. They were all very cautious. Once this thing spreads, there will be a big mess. Of course, perhaps many people think that concealing these things is just for the ruling class, to protect their own interests and to avoid being overthrown. This is indeed one of the reasons, but it is far from that simple. The situation in Jiazhou is currently quite calm. Once this calm is broken, the first to suffer will definitely not be the high-ranking ruling class, but the most ordinary civilians. Many people do not understand that maintaining stability is not only beneficial to the rulers, but also to ordinary people. Once chaos breaks out, only those ambitious people will benefit. It is better to be a dog in peacetime than a man in troubled times. Many people do not understand this truth. When they are not satisfied for a while, they are afraid that the world will not be in chaos. In fact, if chaos really breaks out, it is not a question of whether life is satisfactory or not. Ordinary people have to consider the issue of survival. Chapter 324. Nothing major happened in Blue Star in the next few days. After a slow flight of more than 10 hours, the Kunpeng starship returned to Blue Star again and stayed in the synchronous orbit. Suyi took Yuling and Xinghan back to Penglai Island in the landing craft. After practicing with Xinghan, He passed the technique to Yuling point naturally. The old couple had nothing to say, and they were obsessed with each other for a while point, because he had imprinted the Golden Crow book technique into his mind early on. These two trainings had brought about a considerable improvement in his cultivation point, unlike Yuling and Crossing Hen, who was held back by his cultivation in the magical world. He was able to practice faster and more smoothly point after only 2 times. His cultivation not only broke through the shackles of mortals and became a serious monk in the training period, but his cultivation was also quite solid point. Ling and Xinghan also received considerable benefits as a result. After arriving in the Blue Star orbit after more than 10 hours of sailing, the sweeping robot responsible for cleaning the captain's room suffered a lot during this time point. As for Suyi, who was picked, I don't know if he really has any special physique, or if those weird exercises given by the Hehuan sect are really useful. Not only did he not feel tired at all, but he became more and more courageous as he fought. Even Xinghan, a powerful demigod in the magical world, couldn't stand it. It's also off the mark point. After getting off the spaceship, Suyi's cultivation had reached the middle stage of physical training. Yuling, on the other hand, simply gave up her original 8th level cultivation of magic and martial arts and started practicing again, and reached the late stage of physical training in just about 10 hours. It's not that her talent is much better than Suyi's, and her physique is more suitable for practicing her own skills than Suyi point, but her own foundation is much better than Suyi's, and she has not reached a dead end in the magical world's training system like Xinghan. There is still a chance to make a U-turn, and even after making a U-turn, she will still be able to remain to some extent. Some of the basics of her original cultivation, such as her physical body, are much stronger than Suyi, who has never practiced. Even if her original cultivation in the magical world is lost, her tough physical body cannot be lost. Otherwise, it is not practicing martial arts again. It is called dismantling the physical body and directly committing suicide. When she recultivated the Taiyan ancient scroll, she already had the cultivation level of the middle stage of physical training at the beginning. According to Xinghan's estimation, Yuling has reached the late stage of physical training and has broken through to the key training stage. Also, because of his familiarity with spiritual power when using magic, his progress will also be very fast. Among them, the one who has reached the perfection of physical training and key training the fastest and has broken through to the foundation building stage may be Yuling. As for Xinghan herself, her situation is much more complicated and cannot be solved by rebuilding her body. She is still looking for a solution. But according to her, dual cultivation in this way will also be of great benefit to her. It's no exaggeration to say that it's good for you, good for me, and good for everyone. So much so that after returning to Blue Star, the 3 of them stayed away from home for many days, just doing errands in the middle of the process. Yang Yi was even found. But compared to Yuling and Crossing Hen, who still had the foundation of cultivation no matter what, and whose bodies were far stronger than ordinary people, Yang Yi seemed a bit too weak. After staying for less than a day, he ran away holding onto the wall on the grounds that school was still in session the next day. It is said that my legs were weak for a week afterwards. Suyi obtained a strange skill from the Hehuan sect in another world, which caused the war to break out. Wee Wee was equally uneasy. After getting a positive answer from Suyi before, and having the confidence to fight against those gods, she sent people to investigate around the crude oil lake for 2 days, and after confirming that there was nothing suspicious except the giant dragon, then he directly found the Kyushu reinforcement headquarters. After some communication, she, along with several 9th level warriors and magicians, as well as a dozen 8th level experts, arrived at the underground oil lake with Lin Yiling, the person in charge of Kyushu forward. Less than 2 minutes after the group entered the entrance of the underground lake, a huge black dragon took the initiative to appear in the huge underground space. Her Majesty Queen Mention, distinguished guest from another world, Oriel, the son of the Black Dragon King, would like to say hello to you. Compared to shouting and killing when seeing other people, this giant dragon behaved quite politely at this time. He said hello as soon as he appeared and put the forelimbs connected to the bone wings on his chest, imitating humans. He made a salute like that. It turns out that the guests from Dragon Island are here. The guests arrived in the northern territory of Blazing Sun. Instead of visiting Mengchuan City, they hid in this dirty underground lake. I wonder why. Wee said lightly. Although the creatures in this world generally believe that dragons are the most powerful race, in fact this refers to individuals as a group. Dragons are defeated by humans, and their status is obviously inferior to humans as a princess and a prince from one of the most powerful empires in mankind. She obviously does not need to give too much face to the son of a dragon king. The giant dragon did not speak, but looked at Lin Yilong precisely. After a while, seeing that Lin Yilong didn't respond, he continued, does this guest from another world have nothing to say? After hearing this, Lin Yilong replied, does the guest from another world refer to me? I'm afraid the little dragon king has made a mistake. I'm a native of Mengchuan City. He was smiling as he spoke, and there was nothing strange about him. Just kidding. He received an elite education in Kyushu. Suyi had to learn the ability to talk to people and ghosts through hard work in society. He was taught by a professional psychology teacher when he was only a few years old. Learn next time. No. It is impossible for Mengchuan City, or even the Blazing Sun Empire, to give birth to someone like you. There was no emotion on the face of the Black Dragon Prince Long, and his rough voice continued, you don't have any aristocratic blood in you. Based on the human concept of dignity, if you are not a visitor from another world, you are not qualified to follow the queen here. Not even if you have great abilities. Lin Yilong was stunned for a moment, then he couldn't help but smile, stepped back a few steps, further away from Wee, and then said, Your Majesty, the queen is approachable, and doesn't despise the blood of humble people like us, which makes me a little forgetful. It's really a sin, because of the influence of these Kyushu people. Although the current culture of blood theory in Mengchuan City still exists, it is far inferior to other places. Even the local civil servants and military officers from the magical world, who were born into nobles in the city lord's palace, only showed discrimination against them, based on their bloodline, when they first came here. After the first battle in which thousands of guns were fired, no one dared to look down on these Kyushu people, because of their own blood. So much so that neither Lin Yilong nor the powerful people in Mengchuan City thought there would be any problem if he followed him here. On the contrary, the black dragon from outside could tell at a glance that something was wrong. Chapter 325. Stop talking nonsense. I'm asking you questions now. Who asked you to come here? What's your purpose? Wee said softly. She didn't have a good impression of these dragons. If she did, she wouldn't have gone out of her way to get the title of Dragon Slayer. What's more, if it weren't for this guy in front of her, Mengchuan City should have been in a period of rapid development. Now that the development has been forcibly interrupted, we can't be polite at all. Bringing so many 8th and 9th level strongmen also shows her attitude. If this guy doesn't make things clear today and wants to cause trouble near Mengchuan City, then he will have to be killed here today. There is no need to be too polite to this kind of guy who is almost openly here to cause trouble. Your Majesty, please be patient. Isn't it obvious what my purpose is? Let me have a good talk with this friend from another world, and I will leave here immediately, Prince. Black Dragon seemed to be unconcerned about the threat in Weewoo's words, and he didn't pay much attention to the 8 or 9 level human warriors in front of him, except for occasionally looking at Wee. Most of the time his eyes were on Lin Yilong. Hearing this, Lin Yilong shrugged and said, since you insist on thinking that I'm a visitor from another world, then treat me as one. I wonder what questions the little dragon king wants to ask. Look, you negotiate with me without waiting for the queen to speak, and you say you are her subordinate. The black dragon seemed to find it a little funny. After glancing at Wee, he said with a cackle. Wee's beautiful eyes condensed slightly, and the little hands in her sleeves were clenched tightly. A 9th rank female warrior who was protecting her from behind saw that something was not right, and quickly held Wee's hand and said, don't be angry, Your Majesty. Why don't you listen to what he says first? HMPH. Wee snorted coldly, I'll give you 10 minutes. If you can't explain it clearly, prepare to die here. If I die here, Dragon Island will not let it go. Your Majesty has not yet become the Empress of the Chiang Empire. I'm afraid you can't be held responsible for this. The Black Dragon Prince seemed to not know how to write the word death, and was still sarcastic. He Wee was so angry that she laughed and immediately retorted, a group of big lizards with wings, calling themselves dragons. 10,000 years ago, they were chased to Dragon Island by our ancestors like dogs, and they are lingering on. Now they are threatening me? You can try and see if I dare to kill you. 9 more minutes. There are 2 dragon kings on Dragon Island, 1 black dragon king and 1 white dragon king. The black dragon king has more than 1 son, and the one in front of him is just one of them. Kill them, and that's it. He doesn't believe that the 2 or 3 big cats and small cats on Dragon Island dare to come to the land to trouble her, unless these big lizards are living too comfortably on Dragon Island and want to die. And even if Dragon Island really attacks, she won't be afraid. Billions of alien races in the north, the high gods and demigods, and several princes in the empire are all staring at her now. Too many lies don't itch. So why should she be afraid of a few lizards? Hearing this, the black dragon didn't say anything else, but just snorted coldly. I don't know if he is really not afraid of death, or thinks that the people brought by Wee can't threaten it at all, and then continue to look at Lin Yiling and say, friends from another world, I have only one question. Can those strange weapons of yours kill gods? As it spoke, it took out a piece of magic tool shaped like jade and crushed it, and a transparent light curtain instantly enveloped the surroundings. The 8th and 9th level warriors brought by Wee were startled, thinking that they had entered a dragon trap. They were relieved when they found that it was just a soundproof barrier. At present, these can't do it, but we have some more powerful ones. It's hard to say whether they can kill those so-called gods, but they should be powerful enough. Lin Yiling shrugged. Anyway, he didn't admit that he came from another world, and what he said now was based on the identity of just treat yourself as coming from another world. He didn't have to be responsible for his own words, so he could brag as much as he wanted. In fact, he has been in the magic world for a while, and he is very clear about the situation here. He also knows that, even if nuclear weapons are used, it is difficult to kill the gods of the magic world. It's not that the power is not enough, but with the missile vehicles used by Blue Star now, it is difficult to exert the power when facing powerful individuals like gods. In short, it can't hit. So what he said is bragging, but it's not. Anyway, just say whether the power is enough. As for whether to fight the middle spirit or not, that is not within the scope of this question. Your world is really crazy to be able to develop weapons that do not rely on their own strength to this extent. The Black Dragon Prince said with scorching eyes. What is your purpose in coming to this world? Land, resources, or slaves? Come and cooperate with us dragons. Use your weapons, plus the powerful strength of our dragon clan, and when we conquer the continent, we can give you half of the land in this world, and all the resources will be given to you to mine. The things in this lake are the resources you want, right? I know there is a place with more than here, even hundreds or thousands of times more than here. As for slaves, all creatures in this world, except the dragons, can be your slaves. Those beautiful elves, strong orcs, and even those high gods, as long as you help us defeat them, we can also seal and tame them into the most humble slaves, and let you drive them at will. Even the princess of the Chiang Empire next to you, Queen Mengchen, we can also sell her to you as a slave at that time, and let you deal with her at will. Those nobles who are high and mighty by blood can all become your prisoners. This is completely consistent with the concept of equality you promote among those orcs, isn't it? Come on, the dragons are your most suitable partners. We have the same ideas and ideals, and there are no rules and regulations in the human world to constrain you. Lin Yiling. Suddenly this happened. He really couldn't handle it. It can be heard that this big dragon brother really has some understanding of the situation inside Mengchuan City, and even knows some of the concepts of equality that the people of Jiuzhou who often come into contact with orcs often promote. It's just that same ideas and ideals are a bit too humorous when coming from the mouth of the giant dragon in front of us. Do you have any misunderstanding about equal coexistence? Isn't it equal coexistence to beat all intelligent creatures into slaves? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.